Chapter 1135. Dongwang Baiji looked at Yi Hua blankly, and two streams of tears flowed down along her cheeks. I don't want to see you. After finished speaking, Dongwang Baiji disappeared from the spot. After hearing that, Yi Hua slowly closed his eyes and lowered his hands. I knew this matter couldn't be covered up. They would find out sooner or later, but it had already been a few years. Furthermore, you were still so angry. Back then, didn't I do it for you all? If not, why would I do all those things? Yi Hua then looked towards Qinya, seemingly saying, Qinya, you are the most sensible one. Can you understand me? Yi Hua, you really disappoint me. Qinya said gravely, then disappeared from the spot as well. I knew that Yi Hua would do things by hook or by crook, but I didn't expect that. He would even kill his own people. Qian Yuqing, who was at the side, was confused. What was going on? Why did Qinya and Dongwang Baiji become like this? Yi Hua gave Qian Yuqing a meaningful glance. Qian Yuqing understood what Yi Hua meant and disappeared from where she was. Qian Yuqing went to stabilize Qinya and Dongwang Baiji. Your honor. Zhu Tian greeted respectfully. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and signaled for him to stop talking. Go back and continue your research. Yi Hua said gravely. Recently, unlucky things have been appearing one after another, and they completely did not allow me to be in a good mood at all. Having no other choice, Absolute Heaven could only nod his head and retreat. Big brother, you all can go back and rest. Yi Hua said faintly. Very vexed, not just a normal kind of vexed. Gong Yu tugged on the corner of Yi Juetian's clothes. Your big brother is currently in a very violent mood, so don't provoke him. Of course, Yi Juetian knew. Then I'll go back and rest first. If Big Brother has any instructions, just call me. Yi Hua waved his hand, and Yi Juetian and Gong Yu left. In an instant, only Yi Hua was left at the scene. Looking at Lai Gu, who was shivering at the side, Yi Hua walked over and questioned gravely, What's going on? Your Honor, I have been poisoned by Qing Su. Lai Gu was very apologetic. Just now, it was all my mistake, allowing the two madams to know about the scam back then in advance. Qing Su's poison? Isn't he an idiot? Yi Hua was very puzzled. Lai Gu's enormous body moved a bit and accidentally caused the surrounding wall to collapse. Right now, Lai Gu felt as if he was squatting like a puppy. A bone dragon squatting like this was very comical. Your Honor, I came back in a hurry to report this matter. That's why I forgot that I was poisoned. Start from the beginning and focus on the main points. Lai Gu told Yi Hua about his conjecture in full detail, and after Yi Hua listened to it, he cursed out loudly, Idiot! Because Lai Gu's conjecture wasn't without reason. That idiot always liked to experiment on his own. He didn't know what he was playing with this time, but he had messed himself up. But what was undeniable was that Qing Su's strength had returned, and he was able to control Great Floating World. This was even more troublesome. Your Honor, it is subordinate's dereliction of duty to let your wives know about what happened back then. Lai Gu said apologetically. He truly felt very apologetic. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. Forget about this matter. They will find out about it sooner or later. It's just that it is brought forward. Then, Your Honor, let's go and capture Qing Su together. If I don't have the antidote, I will continue to maintain my current appearance. Right now, Lai Gu is already not used to being in his real body. How good is it to be a human? I can have sex with my wife every night. But now that he had become like this, how could he slap? He didn't even have tools. Lai Gu lowered his head and took a look. This tool seems to be here, but the size is not suitable. Yi Hua had no choice. This Qing Su problem still has to be solved. After all, I've already kidnapped Great Floating World. Now that Great Floating World knows how to use poison, it is only a matter of time before Great Floating World's memory recovers. Yi Hua and Lai Gu immediately disappeared from the spot and arrived at the sky above the dilapidated temple. A huge bone dragon was flapping its wings in the sky, while Yi Hua was standing on top of Lai Gu's head and looking down at the entire ground. Your Honor, he seems to have run away. Lai Gu said angrily. Yi Hua hurriedly searched for Qing Su's aura, and his brows slightly wrinkled. This idiot actually erased his aura. Then, I will use Great Floating World's aura. The result is still the same. My two subordinates have run away. Your Honor, don't speak. I am very annoyed right now, Yihua said coldly while holding onto his forehead. Qing Su was here to save my mother. But now he disappeared. Where am I supposed to find him? I can't find him at all. Bastard. And he even kidnapped Great Floating World. This Qing Su's guts are truly getting bigger and bigger. Your Honor, how about we call Wei Chang back? Lai Gu suggested. One more person, one more head. Yihua felt that Lai Gu's suggestion was not bad. Wei Chang's brain is still useful. Hurry up and contact Wei Chang. However, an unimaginable thing happened immediately. I can't contact him anymore. This caused Yihua's gaze to become ice cold. Since Wei Chang's aura, he disappeared as well. Didn't that fellow fight just now? Could it be that he lost the fight? He was exterminated. How was this possible? I know of Wei Chang's strength, and only I am able to defeat Wei Chang. Who else is able to defeat Wei Chang? With so many unforeseen events happening in a single night, Yihua was already extremely annoyed. The whereabouts of 2 of the 7 sins are unknown, and one of them is Wei Chang, and that idiot Qing Su. There is also that idiot Do Floating World. There is also that poison Lai Gu. My secret was discovered by my wife as well. My mother's illness, my little brother's matter. Why did so many troubles appear all of a sudden? I no longer want to use my brain to solve these problems. Seems like sometimes I still have to rely on force to solve problems. Wei Chang disappeared. What? Your Honor, why did Wei Chang disappear? Lai Gu cried out in shock. There is definitely no problem with Wei Chang's loyalty. Could it be that Wei Chang was exterminated during the fight just now? How is this possible? Yihua didn't explain much and directly brought Lai Gu to the scene of the incident. The scene of the incident could be said to be a huge, empty crater, and the smell of scorched earth pervaded the air. And on the ground, there was a huge and abnormal crater. Lai Gu hovered in the air and looked at the imprint. Your Honor, this seems to be Wei Chang's original form. Yes, Wei Chang was actually forced to reveal his original form, Yihua said gravely, and he couldn't sense any aura of life in the surroundings at all. Lai Gu was very shocked. This age, there is still someone who is able to force Wei Chang's original form out? This is completely impossible. Who has such great ability? Your Honor, what should we do now? Lai Gu asked worriedly. Yihua took a deep breath, then took out a stick of cigarette and placed it in his mouth. Gather everyone. Yihua contacted Qing Yutong and even all of his subordinates. The current situation had become very strange. Yihua felt that there was someone who was targeting him. I felt it when my mother was poisoned. That idiot emperor has such great ability? No, that's an existence. There is someone else. Very quickly, Qing Yutong and the others received Yihua's order, and all of them disappeared from the tavern in the Evil Man City. Only Yang Hao Ian and Rin Yao were still in the tavern. After all, the 2 of them weren't members of the group and didn't have the qualifications to participate in this kind of meeting. End of this chapter. Chapter 1136. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. 10,000 blessings equal to heaven. The subordinates knelt down and shouted out. Qing Yutong stood behind Yihua. No matter what, she is still a wife. There is no need for her to salute. Everyone, get up, Yihua said gravely. Everyone looked at Lai Gu, who was at the side, and felt very confused. Why did he come out with his real body? Is he trying to show off? Is he trying to show off? Especially Lai Gu's 4 wives, they were all confused. With Lai Gu's current appearance, I can only ride him. Right now, Lai Gu felt extremely awkward. However, everyone discovered that there seemed to be a few people missing. Where did Wei Chang and Do Fusher go? Li Hun looked around in confusion. Where did my little Do Fusher go? Tang Wei was the same as well. Where did Uncle Wei go? Yihua took a glance at the surroundings and said gravely, Tonight, a lot of things happened. I want to know why Wei Chang suddenly got into a fight for no reason. Tang Wei, you tell him. Tang Wei had a bad premonition and walked out of the group. Reporting to your honor, tonight's matter is like this. Tang Wei recounted everything that had happened in full detail. Yihua finally understood. So it was because of gold. That black-clothed man is not simple. He was actually able to instantly kill LV Liang. But he didn't directly kill LV Liang. The feeling he gave off was a bit like a plot. Your Honor, subordinate is incompetent. Your Honor, please punish me. LV Liang immediately knelt down and admitted her mistake. For something like this to happen, it is such a loss of face. I have thrown His Honor's face all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Right now, Yihua didn't even have the mood to care about such a matter. There are a few things that I need to say. Seeing that His Honor's expression was so bad, everyone didn't dare to say anything. Do Fusher was kidnapped by Qing Su. He has already disappeared. Yihua said the first thing that he wanted to say. Li Hun, who was in the group, went into a daze and immediately fainted. Zishan, who was at the side, hurriedly held onto Li Hun. Li Hun also heard about Qing Su's matter. That fellow used me as an experiment. If Do Fusher was kidnapped, I will definitely be used as a guinea pig. I will become a widow. Li Hun felt heartache. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have bullied little Do Fusher. Little Do Fusher is so cute and loves me so much. Yihua let out a breath and continued. Lai Gu was inflicted with Qing Su's poison, and for the time being, he is unable to regain his human form. Yi Zizi said vigilantly, Your Honor, since Lai Gu is unable to revert back to his human form, it's best for him not to return back to Lai Gu's human form, in case your wife sees him. It's too late, Yihua said faintly. The expressions of Lai Gu's subordinates sunk, and they immediately looked towards Lai Gu. How can you be so careless? Your wife actually saw it. Lai Gu felt very ashamed, and his huge dragon head looked towards the side where there was no one. One more thing. Wei Chang has gone missing, Yihua said coldly. Wei Chang's matter could be said to be a big matter. Right now, there's no corpse of Wei Chang. He should not be dead, but he is missing. Everyone took a deep breath. Meanwhile, Tang Wei also immediately fainted. The powerful Uncle Wei actually went missing. Why is it like this in just one night? 2 of the 7 deadly sins went missing. To the entire team, that was a grievous news. Qin Yutong didn't expect that such a thing would happen, and right now, she was completely clueless about what to do. Furthermore, brother-in-law's evil deeds were also discovered by Big Sister. Misfortunes never come alone. Misfortunes never come alone. I now announce. Activate Level 1 alert. Everyone's mission will be canceled. Go back and discuss how to deal with the situation. Right now, Yihua couldn't care less about the gold and the legendary weapon. Wei Chang and Qing Su must be found. Especially Wei Chang. Just what exactly happened to him? Brother-in-law, this time, I came out to find a person. Qing Yutong, who was standing at the side, said lightly. Yihua asked faintly, who? A guardian. Hearing that, Yihua's brows wrinkled, then said, Bring him back. That Big Sister and Big Sister Baiji, how are they now? Qing Yutong asked concernedly. Yihua let out a sigh. If Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were as sensible as Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing, I would be able to relax a bit. Right after he finished thinking, Qian Yuqing's voice rang out in his mind. Yihua, quickly come back. Qinya and Baiji are going to run away from home. Yihua, running away from home again? Can't these 2 women change to something else? Why do they keep running away from home every single time? How old are they already? Can't they be a bit less childish and a bit more mature? I am truly convinced. Yihua immediately disappeared into the void. And right now, Qing Yutong's subordinates could only return back to the inn and prepare to think of a way to deal with the unknown evil power. However, Qing Yutong still had to make a trip back to the inn and bring Ren Yao back. After all, brother-in-law needed to know about the news of the Guardian. Back at the inn. Big Sister, why did you come back by yourself? Where are the other big sisters? Yang Haoyan hurriedly asked. The main thing he wanted to ask was where Yi Zizi went. Where did my red packet go? Right now, Qing Yutong didn't have the mood to talk about anything else. She looked towards Ren Yao and said, Let's go. Ren Yao had no other choice but to obediently listen to Qing Yutong. What about me, Big Sister, what about me? Yang Hao-Ian revealed out a fawning smile. At the very least, bring me along with me. Yang Hao-Ian, big sisters won't be bored. How should I put it? I, Yang Hao-Ian, am also everyone's happy fruit. Qing Yutong walked in front of Yang Hao-Ian and patted onto Yang Hao-Ian's shoulder. Take care of yourself in the future. After all, everything isn't easy. Big sister, don't scare me. We have all walked together. Yang Hao-Ian squeezed out a smile. Why did they break up just like that? I didn't have any mental preparation at all. Yang Hao-Ian, I know what you want, but is it really important? Without the help of the system, are you, Yang Hao-Ian, just a trash? That's not the case. There are a lot of experts in this world. Could it be that they have some kind of help? Cultivation depends on the individual. Qing Yutong said gravely. I feel that I have become more mature, to the point that I can even use the tone of my brother-in-law to guide others. This is not good news. I, Qing Yutong, will always be 18 years old. I don't want to become a mature old woman. No, after hearing what Qing Yutong said, Yang Hao-Ian looked at Qing Yutong blankly. He knew that Qing Yutong and Run Yao had disappeared from his sight. Yang Hao-Ian sat on the ground blankly. How did she know that I have the system? Mumbled. Big sister, without the system, I am really trash. On the other side, Yi Hua hurriedly arrived at the bedroom. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji could be seen packing up big and small bags. And while they were packing up, they were crying and even scolding me. With my bad temper, if not for what happened back then, I wouldn't have allowed you two to be so arrogant. That's impossible. What are you all doing? Yi Hua shouted gravely. He didn't have any attitude of admitting his mistake at all, as if it was Qinya and Dongwang Baiji who did something wrong. Qian Yuqing stood at the side. She seemed to be very hesitant after hearing Baiji's words. End of this chapter. Chapter 1137. I didn't expect that Yi Hua would actually join hands with another person and kill his wife's people. Afterward, he even descended with a righteous look on his face. Why would Yi Hua do such a thing? This time, the victim was Dongwang Baiji. When I thought about how Yi Hua was still pretending to be dead at that time, and how he was definitely laughing at me and Baiji, I fell for his trick, and I was even moved to the point that I was in a complete mess. When she thought of this matter, she felt that she was just like a fool being toyed with by Yi Hua. Yi Hua, back then, when Ying family came to attack my voidless realm, was it your plan? Dongwang Baiji was truly unable to take it anymore as she pointed at Yi Hua and asked. Yi Hua knew that he wouldn't be able to hide the truth anymore. Thus he said gravely, back then, Ying family wanted to attack voidless realm. I'm only letting Lai Gu and Wei Chong go. I'm going to put on a show for you. Qingyu shouted out. So, everything that happened back then was all fake. Yi Hua is so powerful. How is it possible for him to be beaten to a pulp by that black mist figure? I clearly felt that everything that happened back then was all fake, but it turned out that everything that happened back then was all fake. Everything was all fake. It was all an act. Right now, Yi Hua was also angered as he shouted out angrily. Wasn't the reason why I did that for you all. You run away from home so easily. What can I do? Dongwang Baiji suddenly laughed. You are still blaming me and Qinya? Yi Hua, touch your heart and tell me, how did Qinya and I treat you? When have we ever disobeyed you? Whatever you say, we will listen. We are women. We also need your respect. But you, have you given us any respect? I really didn't expect that you, Yi Hua, would even want to kill my people. Hearing Dongwang Baiji's words, Yi Hua felt that seemed to have that kind of meaning. But no matter what, I am still good to you all. I don't want much from you all. I just want you all to be obedient. What's wrong with that? Baiji, that was something that happened a few years ago. I was indeed at fault in this matter, but I also had my own difficulties. Could it be that you are not at fault as well? Yi Hua shouted out gravely. I, the Supreme Overlord, can take 70% of the blame for that matter, but the two of you should take 30% of the blame as well. If you hadn't run away from home, that wouldn't have happened. You still refuse to admit your mistakes, and after admitting your mistakes, you still refuse to change. Yi Hua, why are you always like this? Qingyu said angrily. After so many years, you really haven't changed at all. You are still so self-centered. It feels like everyone has to revolve around you, right? Yihua's gaze turned cold, and he immediately shouted out angrily, "What did I do wrong? This is the decision made by me. It's all for the team." Perhaps it was because he was too agitated. Yihua's anger instantly erupted. Qian Yuqing quickly left to find her mother. Otherwise, things would definitely fall apart. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji were not like Qian Yuqing, who had the mindset of an ancient woman. They had the mindset of a modern woman. Yes, you're the boss. We are all your accessories, an item that allowed you to show off your strength. Seeing that Yihua still had the face to throw a tantrum, Dongwang Baiji became even angrier. "Dongwang Baiji," Yihua shouted out coldly, then instantly arrived before Dongwang Baiji and raised his palm. Dongwang Baiji was stupefied, and tears flowed down from her eyes. "You want to hit me? What did I do wrong? Go ahead and hit me. Just beat me to death today." Qingya came back to her senses and immediately pushed Yihua to the side, then hugged on to Dongwang Baiji and consoled. "Yihua, are you still a human? We abandoned our lives in the other world to follow you, and this is how you treat us." "Yes, I'm not a human." "All right then, scram. Get the F*CK out of here." Yihua's anger rose once again. "I am just a skeleton. What's wrong? I shouldn't have been a human back then. Ridiculous to the extreme." Qingya and Dongwang Baiji went into a daze for a moment. Then their expressions became firm. "All right, we will scram. You can forget about seeing the children forever. You dare? I dare you to bring the children around." Yihua's mood during this period of time wasn't very good. Luckily, Qian Yuqing was there to comfort him. However, tonight, Yihua was already extremely agitated. His subordinates going missing and all sorts of problems added together had already formed a huge amount of pressure. However, at this time, when the two women came to anger him again, he was completely unable to control his emotions. Qingya's temper also came. "What's wrong, Yihua? I will explain it to you today. We are definitely going to bring the children away. If you have the ability, go ahead and kill us right now." "Qingya, Dongwang Baiji." Yihua's expression was already distorted to the extreme. This kind of malevolence was something that Qingya and Dongwang Baiji had never seen before. His pair of tiger eyes were already flickering with red light. To the current Yihua, losing his rationality was an extremely easy thing to do. Looking at Yihua's expression, Qingya and Dongwang Baiji felt incomparably heartache. "You're clearly the one who did the wrong thing. Not only did you not admit your mistake, you're even twisting words and forcing logic. And right now, you even want to kill us. Are you even a man? What's wrong? What's wrong? Why did you start quarreling?" At this time, Lu Jing's voice rang out from outside the door, and Qian Yuqing walked in while supporting Lu Jing. Hearing his mother's voice, Yihua's expression eased up a bit, but it was evident that he was still extremely angry. On the way here, Lu Jing also heard what Qian Yuqing said. In summary, her son did something bad in the past and hid it from his daughter-in-law. Now that his daughter-in-law found out about it, she got angry. It was just that simple. When Qingya and Dongwang Baiji saw that their mother had arrived, they couldn't control themselves anymore and pounced into Lu Jing's embrace and cried bitterly. "Your son is bullying others. We are all parents who already have children. It is unavoidable for us to quarrel with each other. However, don't let it get to your head. Make peace the most important thing. Don't you agree, Yihua?" Lu Jing asked while looking at her son. Lu Jing didn't have any intention of blaming Yihua. After all, both sides are at fault, which is why such a misunderstanding was created. Yihua remained silent. "You want me, the Supreme Overlord, to admit my mistake? Impossible. Mother, I still have something that I need to deal with," Yihua said gravely, then directly walked out of the bedroom. He didn't even bother to coax his mother. "Just looking at her makes me feel annoyed. I, the Supreme Overlord, am already in a bad mood, and you still dare to come and make me feel annoyed." Seeing that Yihua actually left, Qingya and Dongwang Baiji cried, even more fiercely. "I really want to harden my heart and bring the children back to the bedroom. and no longer care about this overbearing and cold man. If Lu Jing didn't come just now, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji would have gotten to their heads. After all, when a person gets to their head, they wouldn't care about the consequences. I'm sorry, this son of mine. I'm unable to teach him properly. It is all my fault as a mother. Lu Jing was embarrassed to say this in front of Yihua, but now that Yihua had left, she was able to say it. Mother, this has nothing to do with you. It is all Yihua's fault. Not only did he not correct his mistakes, he even refused to listen to his mother. Dongwang Baiji said, while sobbing. Dongwang Baiji cried, Mother, just now I really couldn't live on anymore. Yihua was too ruthless. He killed so many of my people. End of this chapter. Chapter 1138. Lu Jing felt quite helpless and looked at Qian Yuqing. Qian Yuqing did not know how to comfort her either. Actually, Yihua's been tortured by me for the past few days, so his mood might not be very good. Don't take what he said to heart. It's all because Mother is incompetent. Don't leave. The one who is going to leave is Mother. It's Mother who has dragged you all down. Lu Jing sighed. They were originally very happy, but it was all because of her that they ended up like this. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji hurriedly said, Mother, no, you can't leave. Sometimes, Mother really wants to find a quiet place to quietly wait for the arrival of death. Mother's greatest wish is to see all of you live a good life. Promise me, okay? Give Yihua a chance, consider it as giving me, his mother, some face. Stay. Yihua needs you all. As expected of a good mother, Lu Jing was able to easily deal with this kind of conflict without any hesitation, causing Qinya and Dongwang Baiji to have nothing to say. How could Qinya and Dongwang Baiji not give him face? Even his mother came to plead for Yihua. It could be considered as giving him a way out of this embarrassing situation. However, this matter was definitely not going to end just like that. Yihua had to apologize for what had happened back then, and he had to apologize properly. Lu Jing heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that her daughter-in-law was stabilized. Her son had to deal with the matters outside. As a mother, she could only deal with the problem of her son's harem. Big sister. At this time, Qing Yutong walked into the bedroom and shouted out. Seeing that her little sister had arrived, Qinya felt wronged and immediately threw herself into Qing Yutong's embrace and cried bitterly. Yutong, your brother-in-law isn't a good person. Qing Yutong didn't have much feelings towards this matter. Back then, weren't the two of you the ones who were making a fuss about running away from home? Brother-in-law was forced into a corner, so I could only think of a way to make you feel touched. However, with the Ying family's meager strength, how could they pose a threat? That was why they had sent someone over. Since it was a show, it was inevitable that there would be casualties. Brother-in-law is a bit extreme, but in the end, it was you guys who did it. Brother-in-law is willing to play the male lead. That is also his love for you guys. With a man like brother-in-law, it wouldn't be an exaggeration even if he had 10,000 people in his harem right now. But look at the current situation. Only 3 women. I really feel sorry for my brother-in-law. Who is this woman? And who is this beauty? Qing Yutong hadn't seen Lu Jing and Qian Yuqing, and she had already left the house before this. Now, he was also very puzzled. You must be Yutong. Lu Jing looked at Qing Yutong and carefully sized her up. From her outer appearance, Qing Yutong seemed to be a good girl, and her temperament was also not bad, and she seemed to be more mature. If Qing Yutong were to know of Lu Jing's evaluation of Qing Yutong, she would definitely act coquettishly. After all, Qing Yutong will always be 18 in this lifetime. There is no such thing as maturity. You are? Qing Yutong asked puzzledly. To be able to appear in brother-in-law's bedroom in the middle of the night, could it be? Is brother-in-law's taste so heavy now? Yutong, this is Yihua's mother, Qing said. Qing Yutong was immediately startled. The thought that I just now was so scary. Fortunately, I didn't say it out. Mother, I am called Qing Yutong. I am brother-in-law's concubine. Qing Yutong directly walked in front of Lu Jing and tried to curry favor with Lu Jing. Qing felt that. I have spent so many years in vain, and in the blink of an eye, I went to curry favor with my mother-in-law. Don't you know how bitter your sister is feeling right now? Can't you comfort your sister? Good boy, you look so good. Lu Jing was very happy. My son's eyesight is always so outstanding. Look at this Qing Yutong. She looks rather obedient. Qingya's personality is not bad, and this little sister's personality is not too bad either. This was also the first time that Qian Yuqing saw Qing Yutong. The wives that Yihua found are indeed all super beautiful. Lu Jing took the initiative to introduce Qian Yuqing. Yutong, this is Yuqing, Yihua's latest wife. Lu Jing even knows how to tease now. This made Qingya and Dongwang Baiji, who were heartbroken, to laugh. Mother-in-law is truly a bit mischievous. In actuality, Qingya and Dongwang Baiji just couldn't accept the fact that it happened too suddenly, and that's why they started quarreling. After all, too much time had passed. It has already been a few years, and the incident had already faded just now. If Yihua had coaxed him a bit, they wouldn't have quarreled so fiercely and wanted to fight and kill each other. After hearing that, Qing Yutong smiled towards Qian Yuqing. Hello, brother-in-law's new wife. Hello, Yihua's concubine. Qian Yuqing stretched out her hand, and the two women shook hands, indicating that they were coexisting peacefully. They even felt that the two women had a lot in common. From the looks of it, from today onwards, Qingya and Dongwang Baiji will be in one group, while Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing will be in the other group. Lu Jing smiled helplessly. All right, the two of you, don't be so talkative. Know your limits. Mother is right, Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing said at the same time. After finished speaking, the two of them went into a daze and looked at each other. How did you know that I was going to say this? The two of them said at the same time again. My God, imitate what I said. Misconception, nonsense, don't be like this. The few of them looked at Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing and said at the same time. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji forgot to be angry. These two treasures, Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing, held onto their forehead at the same time. All right, it's getting late. The two of you should rest early, Lu Jing said gently, then prepared to return to her bedroom to rest. If the mother-in-law wanted to go back as the daughter-in-law, no matter what, I have to send her off. The four daughters-in-law escorted the mother-in-law to her bedroom. Within the palace hall, Yihua sat on the throne, and below him stood Yizizi, Zhu Tian, Brett, and Ren Yao. Right now, Yihua didn't have a mood to sleep at all. Just now, he had a big fight with his wife. Luckily, Mother came over. If not, she would definitely beat them to death. To actually dare to fight with me again. You are a guardian? Yihua asked towards Ren Yao. This Baldy looks rather weak. Such a weak person is also a guardian? After all, among the guardians that Yihua met, that Su Jiao and Xing Tsang were both very strong, but this Baldy is so weak. What Yihua didn't know was that Ren Yao had crushed his strength into a fried egg, which was why his strength was so weak. Ren Yao finally saw the legendary his honor. Ren Yao only felt that this man is very mysterious. Even the perverted big sister has to stand respectfully in front of this man. From this, it could be seen how terrifying this man is. Thus, I have to answer honestly. That's right, I am a guardian. Then, why are you so weak? Yihua asked back. Ren Yao felt a stabbing pain in her heart. This is honor is stabbing my chest right now. Replying to your honor, an accident happened. Thus, I am unable to fully recover my strength. Hearing Ren Yao's explanation, Yihua felt relieved. So that's how it is. Are you the same as other espers? You only remember his name, and nothing else? End of this chapter. Chapter 1139. Yes, what your honor said is correct. Ren Yao replied respectfully. Ren Yao felt that he seemed to know everything. Yihua took a deep breath. These guardians don't know anything other than their names. What exactly are they guarding? I am very curious right now. However, I will leave Ren Yao behind first. I will take a look at him when the time comes. Go and rest, Yihua said faintly. Ren Yao let out a sigh of relief. This his honor is rather easy to talk to. He isn't as scary as I imagine him to be. Yes. Ren Yao left respectfully. Only 3 members of the 7 sins remained at the scene. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then began puffing out smoke as he asked faintly, What do you all think about Wei Chang's disappearance? Zhu Tian was not present at the scene, thus he remained silent. However, even after hearing what Tang Wei said, he was still unable to determine the situation at the scene. Brett was not present at the scene, thus he wasn't able to make a judgment. Only Yi Zizi was left. Your Honor, I feel that this is a conspiracy, Yi Zizi said decisively. Yi Hua asked faintly why. Intuition, Yi Zizi said confidently. Yi Hua knew that it would be like this. Zhu Tian, what do you think about this matter? Your Honor, there are a lot of suspicious points in this matter. Although subordinate was not present at the scene, why would such a powerful black-clothed man exchange for something with the gold in his hands? Zhu Tian raised his doubt. Yi Hua said gravely, the purpose isn't to exchange for something. Zhu Tian mumbled, could it be to lure them? Yi Hua took a deep breath, then puffed out a mouthful of smoke. If it is to lure them, what is the purpose of it? Also, why would they know about Wei Chang's whereabouts? Or could it be, Wei Chang has long been targeted by them? Yi Hua's questions caused the expressions of the three to darken. If we were targeted long ago, if Wei Chang had been targeted by them long ago, then the strength of the other party must be very strong. And now that Wei Chang has disappeared, I'm afraid that the other party is already dead. Your Honor, the strength of the enemy right now is very strong. I feel that we should take the initiative to attack. We cannot passively defend. Brett's temperament had always been impatient and fiery. Defending was not Brett's character. Taking the initiative to attack was the way of the king. Brett, where do you think we should attack? Yi Hua asked faintly. This subordinate believes that the mastermind this time should be the God's realm. As long as we kill those people from the God's realm, it will naturally be fine. Brett said respectfully. It was simply an imaginary enemy. Yi Hua said gravely. That God's realm's emperor is a piece of trash. It is impossible for such a person to exist. Maybe the God's realm is hiding something? Brett said respectfully. In any case, the battle was about to start. It was time to let everyone know the power of a team. Just do it. Do it until everyone was terrified. Yi Hua took a deep breath. I can't mess around with this matter. Yi Hua didn't want to fall into the enemy's trap. At that time, he would be laughed at by his enemies. That would be embarrassing, so he had to deal with it calmly. Your Honor, how should we deal with Qing Su? Absolute Heaven asked. Yi Hua tapped on the armrest with his index finger and said gravely, right now, both Wei Chang and Qing Su have gone missing. If we were to take the initiative to look for them, it would be no different from looking for a needle in a haystack. Then, Your Honor, we have to think of a way, right? I'm truly worried about Wei Chang. Yi Zizi's relationship with Wei Chang was still quite good, but when it came to their relationship with their emotions, it was just so. Compared to Qing Su, Wei Chang was definitely more important. Yi Hua also wanted to think of a way, but right now, he didn't even have a single clue, and he didn't know where to start. You all can go and rest first. Let me sort out my thoughts. Yi Hua said gravely as he rubbed his forehead. The three subordinates left respectfully, and Yi Hua continued to sit on the throne and pondered. He didn't plan to return to his bedroom anymore, because if he were to return and see those two women, he would feel irritated. They're truly looking for something to do. This is terrible. After walking out of the bedroom, the three didn't leave immediately. What's wrong with Your Honor? In the past, you would always start killing just because you don't get along with each other. Brett said in a low voice. Absolute Heaven pinched onto Brett's cheeks, and the latter pouted her small mouth. In this world, only Absolute Heaven would dare to pinch onto Brett's cheeks like that. Your Honor's mother won't be able to live for much longer. Yi Zizi and Brett didn't know about Lu Jing's matter. After all, back then, both of them had left the bedroom. Your Honor has a mother? Yi Zizi and Brett cried out in surprise. Absolute Heaven nodded his head. A lot of things happen when you two weren't around. Let me tell you two about them. All right, Brett said earnestly. After Absolute Heaven told Yi Zizi and Brett about what happened, Yi Zizi and Brett finally understood. His Honor's mother is actually a deity. Meanwhile, His Honor's mother contracted a serious illness, and the medicine was wasted by a palace maid. Furthermore, His Honor's younger brother seems to like this palace maid. My God, what is going on? Why does Zizi feel like she is watching a television show? That's what happened. Recently, His Honor has been very vexed. Ching Su has also disappeared, and there isn't any result from my research. You two shouldn't go and bother His Honor anymore. Absolute Heaven said gravely. Zizi and Brett, who knew about the cause and effect of the matter, finally understood. Zizi asked curiously, was that palace maid killed by His Honor? No. No. Are you sure? Brett was astonished. His Honor didn't even kill the palace maid. When did he become so nice to her? Absolute Heaven smiled bitterly. Not only did His Honor not kill the palace maid, he even let her out to work in the woodshed. My God, how is this possible? Zizi found it hard to believe. His Honor actually became such a saint. This isn't a good thing. Absolute Heaven placed his hand on Zizi's hand, and the three of them walked together. Absolute Heaven said in a low voice, I heard that His Honor and his younger brother came to an agreement, which is why he didn't kill the palace maid. So that's how it is. His Honor's younger brother likes this palace maid. Absolute Heaven nodded his head. However, the one that Yiju Tian is going to marry is another woman. The corner of Brett's mouth twitched. Why do I feel like I am watching a palace drama? How about we go and take a look at this palace maid then? Right now, Zizi was very curious about this palace maid. Brett was also very curious. What kind of palace maid was able to captivate His Honor's younger brother? You two sure are gossipy. Absolute Heaven couldn't help but say. Brett pouted his mouth. You can choose not to come. Wife, accompanying you is my responsibility. Absolute Heaven hurriedly followed after Brett. He discovered that Brett had become a lot sexier recently. On the other side, Qinya and the others sent Lu Jing back to her bedroom, and the four noble women were walking in the imperial palace. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were still very angry. It has been such a long time, yet I still haven't seen Yizichen. Qing Yutong decided to stand up for her brother-in-law and said, Big sister Baiji, you two shouldn't have quarreled with brother-in-law. End of chapter. Chapter 1140. Qing Yutong, just whose side are you standing on? Qing Yu was drunk. Is this little sister of mine a fake? Every single time, he would stand on Yi Hua's side. Qing Yutong said gravely, too many things happened tonight. Lai Gu was poisoned, and the person who poisoned him was one of brother-in-law's subordinates, Qing Su, and that Qing Su kidnapped Do Fusher and brought him away. His whereabouts are unknown, and the most important thing is Wei Chong, gone missing. Moreover, he disappeared after fighting with someone, and now brother-in-law can't be contacted. After Qing Yutong finished speaking, both Qinya and Dongwang Baiji remained silent. There were still a lot of things that Qian Yuqing didn't understand. For example, those subordinates of Yihua. Sometimes, Qian Yuqing basically didn't know who was who, and Yihua also didn't bring Qian Yuqing along to get to know them. Therefore, when Qian Yuqing heard what Qian Yuqing said, Qian Yuqing was also confused. She only knew that the person who was very important to Yihua had disappeared. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were both rather shocked. Wei Chong actually went missing as well. Wei Chong and Yihua's relationship was so good, Yihua would definitely be worried about Wei Chang's disappearance. Right now, Dongwang Baiji still remembered that Wei Chong was by Yihua's side when they went to the bar. Wei Chang's disappearance definitely caused Yihua's mood to be bad. Even Do Fusher was kidnapped. Too many misfortunes had happened on this night. Big sister Baiji, brother-in-law's mood tonight is truly not good. You two can find trouble with brother-in-law another day. Just let brother-in-law deal with everything first. Qing Yutong suggested. As long as you two don't go and cause trouble for brother-in-law, it will be fine. Qing had a whole new level of respect for her younger sister. I didn't expect that her younger sister would change after going out this time. Qing patted on a Qing Yutong's shoulder and said earnestly, Yutong, big sister is very gratified right now. You have finally matured. Qing Yutong, to hell with being mature. I, Qing Yutong, am still young and inexperienced. I am 18 years old every year, okay? On the other side, Yi Zizi, Brett, and Zhu Tian arrived at the woodshed. It was already so late, but the three of them could still hear the sound of wood being chopped in the woodshed. The three took a look at each other. There's still someone who hasn't slept yet. The three of them did not enter from the front. Instead, they appeared in the woodshed while invisible and walked toward the figure chopping firewood. When they saw this woman, Yi Zizi and Brett both had looks of surprise on their faces. What a beautiful woman! Even Absolute Heaven expressed that she was very beautiful. Although he had sneaked a peek at her before, now that he saw her for the second time, he still felt that she was very beautiful. Yi Zizi and Brett finally understood why his Honor's younger brother would be infatuated with Yi Zizi. This kind of woman indeed deserves to be infatuated with. But there seemed to be something wrong with this woman. She was chopping firewood so late at night, and her face was pale and haggard, as if she was injured by something. The webbing between his thumb and forefinger was red, and there were red marks on the handle of the axe. Wusu Empire's night was still very cold, but there were still beads of sweat that were dripping down her forehead, flowing down her cheeks, and falling on the ground. Dust rose up into the air. This woman was naturally Yi. Why does she look so miserable? Brett asked curiously. Yi Zizi also felt the same. Originally, I hated it. After all, I did something wrong, and it is normal for me to be punished by his honor. However, looking at Yi's current appearance, I feel that she is so pitiful. A girl like this is still chopping firewood, and the web between her thumb and index finger is bleeding. Zhu Tian said softly. It's all because of Yi Juetian. Why? Yi Zizi asked curiously. Because Yi Juetian is going to get married to Gong Yu. Zhu Tian shook his head helplessly. The news of Yi Juetian and Gong Yu getting married had long been spread throughout the palace. Yi, who had just been released, was still waiting for Yi Juetian to come and explain, and unexpectedly, what she received was indeed such a grievous news. Yi really wanted to go and find Yi Juetian and ask him why. Such a big matter. Why didn't you ask me? Yi had been waiting for Yi Juetian to come and explain everything every day, but Yi Juetian didn't come at all. Yi even heard that. Yi Juetian and Gong Yu were inseparable, and they were extremely loving. This made Yi feel so much pain that she wished she was dead. Yi often asked herself why this was happening. Could it be that it was because I was born in a lowly position? To be looked down upon by everyone. Even the person that one loves the most is the same. Her heart was like dead ashes. This was Yi's current state. As women, Yi Zizi and Brett felt that Yi was pitiful. Therefore, there was nothing to hide, and Yi directly revealed herself. Yi suddenly saw two women appearing in front of her. One of them was cute, and the other was tall and sexy, but she didn't recognize either of them. However, when she saw Zhu Tian, who was at the back, Yi recognized Zhu Tian and immediately knelt onto the ground to greet him. You can get up, Zhu Tian said faintly. Thank you, Lord. Yi slowly stood up, then slightly lowered her head and stood at the side, not speaking. Brett didn't really like Yi's attitude. In any case, he just disliked Yi. Why are you afraid of us? Brett asked gravely. Yi lowered her head and didn't speak. Why aren't you speaking? Brett asked again. However, Yi still lowered her head and didn't speak. Zhu Tian pulled on a Brett's sleeve. Don't ask anymore. She rarely speaks. Indeed, the current Yi didn't speak at all. No matter how others bullied her, she wouldn't speak. It was just like how Yi Juetian saw Yi for the first time on the street. Brett took a look at Yi, then disappeared from spot. Zhu Tian followed after Brett and left. Yi Zizi raised her head and looked towards Yi, then took out a lollipop and placed it in Yi's hand. This is very sweet. It might be able to make you feel a bit better. After finished speaking, Yi Zizi disappeared from the spot as well. Yi held onto the lollipop in her hand and stood there for a very long time. Soon after, Yi lightly opened the packaging of the lollipop and looked at the pink ball. Yi stuck out her tongue and licked the lollipop, and a sweet taste lingered in her mouth. The lollipop is indeed delicious, and my mood became slightly better. Yi licked a few mouthfuls of the lollipop, then kept it away. I will only eat it when my mood is bad. Picking up the axe at the side, Yi arranged the wooden block properly, then raised the axe and chopped down. I wonder if Yi imagined the wooden block to be Yi Juetian. If I continue chopping down the wooden block like this, it will definitely feel great, right? Within the palace hall, Yihua pondered for a very long time, then called out, "White bones." The palace hall remained silent for 2 seconds. Then a voice sounded out, "Your Honor, I have a mission to give you, and this mission might be rather difficult," Yihua said gravely. After thinking for a while, he felt that it would be better for him to let White Bones go out right now, because it would be much safer. After all, since White Bones was able to make Wei Chong go missing, then White Bones would also be able to make Yi Zizi and the others cause trouble for Yi Zizi and the others. "I am willing to go through fire and water for your honor," White Bones shouted out respectfully. "You were originally Cayune's subordinate, but this time, the team is facing a crisis, and it is inconvenient for other people to go out. Subordinate understands." Into this chapter. Chapter 1141. Very well. I want you to go and look for Qing Su. Although his poison is powerful, I am afraid that it shouldn't be able to do anything to air. Before go look for Qing Su, I still want you to go and kill a person, Yihua said coldly. "Right now, only death can make me happy. Your Honor, please speak," White Bones said gravely. "Go and kill the God's Realm's Emperor, Huang Fei. I want him to die in front of everyone," Yihua said with an ice-cold, killing intent. "Originally, I wanted to torture Huang Fei to death, but I don't have the mood to do that anymore." Subordinate obeys. "Does your honor have any other arrangements?" White Bones asked respectfully. "Go and do what you need to do first. You have worked hard," Yihua said lightly. "Serving your honor will be subordinate's greatest honor." Yihua nodded his head and waved his hand. He wouldn't even know if White Bones had left or not, but he reckoned that White Bones had left. This White Bones is indeed abnormal. If I want to kill it, I will have to spend a lot of effort. Back then, I even let escape. "Huang Fei, I originally wanted to play a few rounds with you, but who asked me to be in a bad mood tonight? Since that's the case, don't blame me. In your next life, don't ever provoke my women or my family members. If not, only death and absolute heaven will descend." Yihua placed his hand on his forehead and seemed to be thinking about something. "The enemy this time is very cunning. Perhaps only this kind of enemy is worthy of fighting against me. Of course, I am referring to my brain. My strength is #1 in the world. Brother-in-law, are you still thinking about the problem?" Qing Yutong bounced over, looking like she was still a child. Yihua sighed and asked faintly, "How is your big sister?" "She is still all right. She did not make a fuss anymore." Qing Yutong spread out her hands. "With me, Yutong, isn't big sister still able to settle everything?" Qing Yutong continued, "Brother-in-law, how about we go back now? Forget it. I still have a lot of things that I need to think about right now. Just looking at the two of them makes me feel annoyed," Yihua said coldly. Qing Yutong pursed her lips. "Brother-in-law, let's go to my bedroom and let Yutong give you a massage to help you stretch your body. Sigh, if your sister was as sensible as you, I wouldn't have to be so sad." Yihua shook his head, then stood up and walked down the stairs. Meanwhile, Qing Yutong held onto Yihua's arm and leaned onto Yihua's shoulder happily. "Look at me, Yutong, I never do anything. They just like to do something. One day, if I really make brother-in-law disappear, I will regret it." The next morning, God's Realm Yi family. Yuan Qing, pray to the emperor to help your brother get an official position. Yishan, who was dressed in court attire, stood beside Yi Yuan Qing and said. Yi Yuan Qing, dressed in a velvet armor, went to the morning court with his father. "Father, the emperor wants to wipe out our Yi family. Why would he arrange a position for my brother?" Yi Yuan Qing said softly. "If he could, he would have done so long ago." The father and daughter sat in the carriage. Yishan said in a low voice, "Yuan Qing, you can try when the time comes. It doesn't matter if you fail or not." "Father, all right, I'll give it a try." Yi Yuan Qing didn't have the heart to reject Yi Yuan Qing's father again. "It's all because of that bastard." Yishan bellowed. "Father, please don't talk about Big Brother like that. Yi Yuanqing didn't like his father talking about Big Brother like that anymore. If it wasn't for Big Brother, I might not be standing here right now. Yishan said gravely, why can't I talk about him like that? If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have ended up in this state. Father, don't forget, the emperor is afraid of Yi family now. Yi Yuanqing said coldly. His father was no longer the father for back then. His father was like a cowardly tiger that only dared to hide in his own territory. That's not me, Yishan said casually. Yi Yuanqing bit his lips lightly. Father, you are just jealous of Big Brother. Bastard. Pa! A slap landed onto Yi Yuanqing's face fiercely. A 5-finger mark immediately appeared on Yi Yuanqing's white face. Yi Yuanqing pulled a long face. He raised his head slightly and held onto his face, appearing to be in disbelief. I didn't expect that my father would actually slap my face. One must know that my father has never slapped me before. Yishan was also furious. The only daughter that I fancy is also talking to Yihua. I'm not happy. It seems like the entire Yi family was snatched away by Yihua. The carriage immediately quieted down. Both father and daughter didn't speak, and Yishan had also calmed down a lot. Yuanqing, father was impulsive just now. Yishan let out a breath, and there was a hint of apology in his words. It is natural for a father to hit his daughter. There is no need for father to apologize. Yi Yuanqing said faintly. Yishan suddenly recalled that when Big Brother came back, he fiercely beat up father. I really envy Big Brother's courage. I don't dare to do that myself. Yishan was helpless. He knew that his daughter was angry. After arriving at the entrance of the imperial palace, Yi Yuanqing got off the carriage and immediately walked into the imperial palace. Yishan was so shocked that he got off the carriage. Lord Yi seems to have gotten into a conflict with our daughter. Yishan went into a daze for a moment. He turned his head around and took a look, then shouted out respectfully, Prime Minister Shan, you're being too polite. We might be in-laws in the future. Shan Junren said with a smile, appearing to be very astute. Yishan was very puzzled. Does this Shan Junren really want to get married? However, if it is a marriage, it wouldn't be good for Yuanqing's career. Prime Minister Shan, I can't even care about Yuanqing's matters anymore. And he even got into a fight with me just now. Yishan said helplessly. The meaning behind his words was that he couldn't make the decision himself, or else he should go and ask his daughter. Shan Junren naturally understood what Yishan meant, and said with a smile, Lord Yi, let us enter the palace first. Prime Minister Shan, please leave first. You are too polite. Yishan knew that the reason why Shan Junren behaved like this was all because of Yihua. The reason why they are so respectful to Yihua is all because of that unfilial son. It isn't because of me. A father is becoming more and more powerful because of his son. This is simply a humiliation to me. Along the way, Yishan heard other people addressing him respectfully. Before Yihua appeared, these people wouldn't even dare to let out a fart. Look at now, they have all given quite a lot of good things to Yihua. This is the doing of a lowly person. Trash. The civil and military officials arrived at the palace and stood to the left and right. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was standing at the very front, and he looked rather formidable. Yishan could only stand at the back of the line, and this was enough to prove how low his position was. Your Majesty has arrived. Along with a high-pitched voice, Huang Fei, who was wearing an emperor robe, appeared. For a person to still be able to smile so happily after losing 2 of his sons not too long ago, it could only be Huang Fei. However, the smile that Huang Fei was smiling at right now was because he was smiling at Yihua. Your mother is going to die soon, and I, the emperor, am happy. Didn't you just prevent me from touching a woman? What's the big deal about that? I will just not touch a woman. Do you think that you will be able to make me feel uncomfortable just because of that? Upon thinking about how furious Yihua was that day, Huang Fei felt very happy. End of this chapter. Chapter 1142. Not only am I going to kill your mother, I'm also going to kill your entire family and give your women to the dirtiest beggars. Just thinking about it makes me feel great. Blessings to your Majesty. The civil and military officials lowered their heads and shouted. Huang Feidi opened up his arms and took a deep breath, preparing to shout out, but suddenly he felt a chill on his neck, as if he was pricked by an ice needle. After a long time, the civil and military officials were very curious as to why Huang Feidi still hasn't shouted out. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. The eunuch who was standing beside Huang Feidi shouted out. The eunuch shouted out a few times, but the emperor didn't reply. The eunuch turned his head and took a look. The eunuch finally shouted out a scream that sounded like a woman's. Following the eunuch's shout, the civil and military officials all raised their heads and looked towards Huang Feidi. They immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Boiling hot blood could be seen flowing out from Huang Feidi's neck. His imperial robe was already dyed red by the blood, and Huang Feidi still had his hands spread out. Your Majesty, there's an assassin. Your Majesty, what happened to you? The entire palace was in chaos. All of you, shut up. Shan Junren shouted out angrily. Yi Yuanqing looked at Huang Feidi, who was high above, and said gravely, His Majesty has already passed away. Although he didn't dare to believe it, Yi Yuanqing had no choice but to believe the truth in front of him. His Majesty died in front of everyone's eyes. Just who was it? Who had such great capability? At least half of the people present were supremes, and no matter how powerful the assassin was, there would definitely be some sort of aura fluctuation. Furthermore, Huang Feidi was a supremes himself, and now he died for no reason. General Yi, what do you think? Shan Junren asked gravely. Yi Yuanqing shook his head. I don't know, His Majesty was definitely killed by someone, but this person is either too strong or he is just air. Even His Majesty's primordial spirit was eliminated. Everyone's expression was grave. The Emperor of God's realm was assassinated in front of the civil and military officials. Just how much of a face slap is this? Prime Minister Shan, we should prepare for His Majesty's funeral, Yi Yuanqing said lightly. Shan Junren looked at the people behind him and asked softly, General Yi, how are we going to choose the crown prince? For a prime minister to ask such a thing, it was obvious that he wanted Yi Yuanqing to make the decision. Right now, there were even a lot of people who were looking at Yi Yuanqing. His Majesty suddenly died, just like that. Could it be that Prince Yi did it? Yi Yuanqing had no intention of usurping the throne. Even if he wanted to, it would not be justifiable. Seeing that Yi Yuanqing was silent, Shan Junren whispered, Does Prince Yi have any arrangements? Shan Junren was full of tricks. He just wanted to ask if Lord Yi was behind this assassination. Yi Yuanqing said in a deep voice, Prime Minister Shan, my big brother is not in the God's realm. But General Yi, this is a rare opportunity. Please inform Prince Yi. Shan Junren said in a low voice and walked away. Yi Yuanqing was a little hesitant and looked at his father. His father's face was filled with panic, as if he was afraid of getting into trouble. Yi Yuanqing shook his head. Ask his father? There won't be any results if I do that. I might as well go and ask Big Brother. How is he going to resolve this matter? Should he join hands with Shan Junren to seize the throne? Or should he just do his job? Yi Yuanqing looked towards the golden bright and dazzling throne with a grave expression on his face. Of course, there was also Huang Fei, who was still standing. Even though he was already dead, his eyes were still filled with disbelief. Why did he die just like that? Just who was he killed? I don't even know why he died so mysteriously. However, the murderer had already left the God's realm a long time ago. To kill a trash, it was as easy as waving his hand. Huang Fei's death shook the entire spiritual city. However, the news of him being assassinated was buried. Everyone said that the emperor suddenly fell ill and died after vomiting a few mouthfuls of blood. Who came up with this excuse? Don't you think that this is too sloppy? A supreme martial artist died after vomiting a few mouthfuls of blood? Is this a joke? But no matter what, the emperor died. This was what everyone was concerned about. Furthermore, the problem now was the emperor died. Who was going to be the emperor? Among those princes of Huang Fei, all of them were idling around and not doing proper work. Even a more outstanding Huang Yun had died, and there was also the eldest Prince Huang Li. Who else had the qualifications to be the emperor? However, right at this moment, someone shouted out that it was perfectly justifiable for Prince Yi to be the emperor. Although they did not have the same surname, they were still princes. However, this saying received a heavy blow from the royal family. A prince with another surname wants to be the emperor? Impossible. Right at this moment, someone questioned, other than Prince Yi, who else had the qualifications to be the emperor? The emperors of the gods' realm were basically all supported by the people. Of course, they were supported by the royal family. This was also why Huang Yun cared so much about the opinions of the people. Huang Fei was the same as well. If not for taking into consideration the opinions of the people, Huang Fei would have directly killed him. However, the problem now was that there were no outstanding people in the royal family, and all of them were trash. You won't let trash become the emperor. The people couldn't afford to lose face like that. If Huang Yun knew that such a thing would happen, he would definitely act calmly. Right now, the throne was on his head. There was no need to fight over it at all. The emperor died, and the entire spiritual city was in a mess. Everyone was discussing about the issue of the new emperor. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was already standing at the entrance of Wushu Empire, and he was amazed by Big Brother City. Such a tall and luxurious city wall. Big Brother is just too rich, isn't he? So reflective, so dazzling. This city wall is even sturdier than Spiritual City's city wall. Big Brother is truly formidable. After walking into the city, Yi Yuanqing saw a different city. The streets here were very wide, much wider than spiritual cities, and the people walking on the streets were not crowded at all. Furthermore, the streets were very busy, and the people were very friendly with each other. Everyone had a blissful smile on their faces, and they were very satisfied with their current lives. Yi Yuanqing thought to himself, Big Brother is truly a genius, to be able to manage an empire properly. Perhaps if Big Brother is able to become the emperor of the gods' realm, it would be a blessing for the people. Thinking up to here, Yi Yuanqing seemed to have made up his mind and walked towards the royal palace. Right now, Yihua was currently in deep thought in his study room. Hearing that his little sister had come, Yihua slightly went into a daze, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. His mood became slightly better. Yuanqing, seeing that his little sister walked over, Yihua said with a slight smile. Yi Yuanqing pretended to be confused. Should I call you Big Brother Emperor or Big Brother? Up to you, as long as you are happy. Yihua stretched out his hand and patted onto Yi Yuanqing's head. The latter enjoyed this kind of action very much. Yuanqing, why did you come? Qian Yuqing, who was standing at the side, cried out in surprise. Sister-in-law, wow. How long has it been since we last met? How did you become so beautiful? It can't be that you had sex with Big Brother, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 1143. Qian Yuqing blushed. You're an unmarried girl. You really have a big mouth. When the time comes, no one will want you. Haha, sister-in-law is shy. Yi Yuanqing teased. Sister-in-law could only be like this in front of his brother. Yi Yuanqing's arrival had indeed made the atmosphere a lot better, and it also made Yihua slightly happier. Big Brother, Huang Fei has died, Yi Yuanqing said gravely, then looked at his big brother. Qian Yuqing's eyes widened in shock as she exclaimed, What? Huang Fei is dead? When did that happen? A few days ago. Yihua acted as if he didn't hear anything and continued to ponder about his own matters. Big Brother? Yi Yuanqing called softly. Yihua raised his head and looked towards his little sister, then responded with a no. He didn't put the matter to heart at all. However, Yi Yuanqing had a guess in his heart. The emperor's death was definitely related to his big brother. This time, he came down to ask his big brother. Big Brother, Huang Fei's death? Before Yi Yuanqing could finish speaking, Yihua said lightly, Big Brother, I was the one who asked someone to do it. Ah, Yi Yuanqing and Qian Yuqing exclaimed at the same time. Yi Yuanqing didn't expect that Big Brother was the one who did it. His brain couldn't react. Big Brother, why? Yi Yuanqing didn't understand. Why did Big Brother want to do it now? If he wanted to do it, he could have done it earlier. Why did he do it now? I can't stand the sight of him, Yihua said coldly. That damned Huang Fei. Let it die a little more quickly. It was a painless death. Indeed, Huang Fei didn't even feel anything before he died. Qian Yuqing was a bit afraid. She was afraid that Yihua would start a war with the deities. It had been a period of time since I stayed at Yihua's side. The military strength of the entire Voidless Empire was scarce, and when compared to God's realm, the difference between the military strength of Voidless Empire and God's realm was like heaven and earth. Qian Yuqing still didn't know the strength of Yihua's subordinates. The battle of the 7 deadly sins wasn't a battle of attrition. Take Qing Su, for example. No matter where he went, he would be able to poison a group of people. Furthermore, there was also Yi Zizi's great absorption technique, coupled with Wei Chang's great absorption technique. No matter how many people there were, it would be useless. Unfortunately, Wei Chang had disappeared and his whereabouts were unknown. Big Brother, why did you suddenly attack now? Does Big Brother want to? Yihua lightly waved his hand, and the conversation between him and Huang Fei appeared. Yi Yuanqing was shocked and quickly asked, Big Brother, what happened to Aunt Lo? Mother doesn't have much spiritual spring left, and it was wasted by a palace maid. Yihua said coldly. Right now, he was filled with anger. This palace maid was sent by Huang Fei? Yihua said gravely, most likely. This Huang Fei, damn it, Yi Yuanqing said hatefully. He deserved to die. Yihua asked faintly, what is the current situation in Spirit City, now that Huang Fei is dead? Who will be the new emperor? Big Brother, your voice is very loud right now. As long as Big Brother is willing to go back, Prime Minister Shan said that Big Brother can definitely become the emperor of the God's realm. In Yi Yuanqing's heart, if Big Brother really killed the emperor, then Big Brother should have the idea of becoming the emperor. However, Yi Yuanqing was wrong. The reason why Yihua killed Huang Fei was not for the throne. In Yihua's heart, the throne was just a decoration. Not interested, Big Brother, I still have a lot of things that I have to deal with. Yihua said calmly. How can the throne be more important than Mother's illness and Wei Chang? In Qian Yuqing's heart, she also felt that Yihua should go back and fight for the throne. After all, the Emperor of the Gods' realm is much more powerful than this emperor. After all, that emperor is able to control a lot of planes. Even Kangluo continent is just one of the bigger planes. However, when Yi Yuanqing heard what his big brother said, he felt a wave of disappointment. Big Brother is actually not interested. Yihua stood up and walked to his sister's side, then patted on her shoulder and said, Yuanqing, you could become the emperor. Me? Big Brother, stop joking around. There has never been a woman who has become the emperor of the God's realm. Yi Yuanqing said fearfully. He was frightened by his big brother's terrifying thought. Yihua laughed lightly. Yuanqing, Big Brother killed Huang Fei, and that was also to pave the way for you. If you sit on the throne, what difference would there be between Big Brother sitting on the throne and you sitting on the throne? Yi Yuanqing didn't expect that his big brother would actually have such a thought. Yi Yuanqing was very touched. Big Brother is actually paving the way for me, and it is even a throne that everyone covets. Big Brother is giving it to me, just like that. Big Brother trusts me so much. Tell that Shan Junren, if he is sensible, then stand on my side, if not. Yihua sent out a death notice. If one stands on my side, at least one won't die. If one stands on the opposite side of my main body, other than death, there is no other possibility. Big Brother, I'm still not mentally prepared. In the end, Yi Yuanqing is a woman. This throne is not a daughter-in-law. And from Big Brother's mouth, whoever he wants to sit on the throne can sit on it. That throne has been sat on by the royal family for 10,000 years. And now that the throne has suddenly changed to another surname, it is inevitable that an accident will occur. Yihua wasn't very anxious and said lightly, It's fine, you will get used to it in the future. For the next few days, you will properly have fun at Big Brother's place, and think about how you should walk your path in the future. Big brother still wants you to sit on the throne. Who said that women can't sit on the throne? Big brother wants you to break this convention. Hearing what Big brother said, Yi Yuanqing's blood started boiling. That's right, all these years didn't I want to prove that women can also do what men can do. Thank you, Big brother. I will properly think about it. Yi Yuanqing said respectfully. Yi Hua treated this little sister very well, and he felt that Yi Yuanqing was very sensible, even more sensible than his own younger brother. After a period of time, Zhu Tian will be getting married. At that time, you should attend the wedding first before going back. Yi Hua added. Yi Yuanqing cried out in surprise once again. Ah, little Tian is getting married? With who? Yuqing, bring Yuanqing over to take a look. I still have a lot of things to think about. Qin Yuqing knew that during this period of time, Yi Hua was very vexed and had a lot of things to do. Thus, she gave Yi Yuanqing an eye signal, and Yi Yuanqing immediately understood. Big brother, that little sister has gone out. Yi Hua nodded his head. The two women walked outside, and Yi Yuanqing asked curiously, Sister-in-law, just what is going on with that palace maid? Qin Yuqing sighed helplessly. Too many things have happened during this period of time. Little Tian likes that palace maid. Little Tian likes that palace maid? What's going on? Didn't that palace maid harm Aunt Lo? Yi Yuanqing felt that his brain wasn't enough to process what was going on. This relationship is a bit complicated. Yuanqing, in actuality, I feel that that palace maid shouldn't have been sent by Huang Feidi, and Yi Hua should have thought wrongly. However, Yi Hua is very sensitive towards this matter, and no matter who brings up this matter, he would not show a good expression. End of this chapter. Chapter 1144. This is also because of Annie Lo. Big brother is very filial. Yi Yuanqing could understand his big brother. Sigh, that palace maid's life is actually quite bitter. Qin Yuqing sighed. Sister-in-law, take me to see little Tian first. Yes. The two of them quickly arrived at Yi Juetian's sleeping quarters. It was broad daylight, and Yi Juetian was sitting in the pavilion drinking tea. Gong Yu sat at the side and played the zither. The pleasant sound of the zither floated in the air, very pleasing to the ear. As expected of a talented woman, Gong Yu was well-versed in all kinds of martial arts. Such a woman was indeed a very good marriage partner. However, Yi Juetian did not feel anything from the beginning to the end. His entire mind was focused on Yi. Gong Yu, who was playing the zither, could feel that although Yi Juetian was faking it with her, Yi Juetian was still thinking about the woodshed. Why? Why can't I, Gong Yu, compare to a lowly servant? I can play the zither and pour water for you. In the future, I can even give birth to a child and help you in your career. But what can that Yi give you? Apart from acting coquettishly, what else was there to do? Little Tian, Yi Yuanqing shouted out. This fellow seems to have become more mature, unlike how he used to be in the Yi family. Men could only mature after experiencing love. Second sister, Yi Juetian immediately stood up. He was very excited. Gong Yu, who was at the side, also stopped playing her zither and respectfully stood behind Yi Juetian. When Yi Yuanqing walked over, Gong Yu obediently greeted, Sister-in-law, second sister. Yi Yuanqing looked at Gong Yu and felt that the two of them were quite compatible. It was a good thing to see little Tian get married. Lil Tian, you've changed from a boy to a man now, right? Yi Yuanqing couldn't help but tease and pat Yi Juetian's shoulder. Yi Yuanqing was a general. When he was at the border, he was surrounded by men. Hence, he sometimes spoke like a man. But in front of her big brother, she still acted like a daughter and was very respectful. Yi Juetian laughed dryly. There's indeed such a thing where a boy becomes a man, but that was an accident. Gong Yu blushed. She didn't expect her second sister to be so bold. Qin Yuqing tugged at Yi Yuanqing, indicating that he was a bit dirty now. I'll go get some water for sister-in-law and second sister. Gong Yu jogged away, her face red from being teased. After Gong Yu left, Yi Yuanqing chuckled and said, Not bad. Little Tian is very good at picking up girls. It hasn't been long since we last met, and he has already gotten himself a beauty. Second big sister, Don't laugh at me anymore. Ganyu and I are just pretending, that's all. Yi Juetian let out a long sigh. Sister-in-law knew about his situation, so there was nothing for Yi Juetian to hide. Qian Yuqing sighed softly. Yi Yuanqing glanced at his sister-in-law, confused. Little Tian, what's wrong with you? You bullied her, and you're still pretending? Second big sister, this matter is a long story. The person I like is someone else. That palace maid? Yi Yuanqing asked in a deep voice. Yes. Then do you know that the palace maid harmed Auntie Lu? Yi Yuanqing questioned. Yi Juetian raised his head, looked at Yi Yuanqing, and said firmly, Second sister, Yi will definitely not do that kind of thing. I dare to use my life to guarantee it. Little Tian, then what do you want to do now? Yi Yuanqing asked in a low voice. Yi Juetian said helplessly, I can only marry Gongyu. Only then will I be able to protect Yi's life. Big Brother promised me this. No wonder Big Brother didn't kill that palace maid. So it turns out that he had an agreement with Little Tian. After all, framing Annie Lu, it was already a miracle that the palace maid didn't die. Little Tian, right now, Huang Feidi is dead. Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice. What? Dead? Yi Juetian cried out in surprise. I originally wanted to help Yi clear her name, but this Huang Feidi actually died. Right now, who can clear Yi's name? There's no one left. Yi will have to bear the crime of murdering her mother for the rest of her life. Yi Juetian held onto his forehead with both of his hands, appearing to be in great pain. How'd he die? It was Big Brother who ordered people to go and kill him. Yi Yuanqing said lightly. The death of such a big emperor, when spoken like this, made it seem as if it was very normal, and there was no need to take it to heart at all. Huang Feidi deserved to die. Yi Juetian didn't have any thoughts about it, but right now, the dead can't testify. At this time, Gongyu walked over while carrying a cup of tea. Yi Yuanqing revealed a gentle smile. He suddenly felt that this woman was rather pitiful, and he could clearly feel that she liked Little Tian. However, Little Tian liked another woman, and the most painful thing in life was none other than the person you liked falling in love with someone else. Juetian, sister-in-law, second sister, have some tea. Gongyu shouted respectfully and poured more tea for the three of them. Yi Yuanqing could only smile and say, Sister-in-law is very virtuous. Second sister, you must be joking. I am just doing what I should do. Gongyu said with a slight smile. If it wasn't for Little Tian liking another woman, Yi Yuanqing would feel that Gongyu was very compatible with Little Tian. However, Yi Yuanqing was also very curious about that Yi. Exactly what kind of woman could make Little Tian so infatuated with her? The four sat together and chatted for a while, and after that, Yi Yuanqing decided to go and take a look at that Yi. After walking out of the bedroom, Yi Yuanqing said lightly, Sister-in-law, bring me to take a look at that Yi. Are you really going? And I want to see what kind of person she is so that I can have an estimate in my heart. Yi Yuanqing wanted to see why this Yi was able to obtain Little Tian's trust and whether or not she was Huang Feidi's secret agent. Qian Yuqing nodded her head, and the two of them walked towards the woodshed. During the day, the door of the woodshed was wide open. Before Qian Yuqing and Yi Yuanqing even walked into the woodshed, they heard a burst of ear-piercing cheers, and the sound of whips could also be heard. This lowly servant girl actually likes Lord Yi. Even in her dreams, she calls out Lord Ye's name. Why don't you take a look at your own status? Is Lord Yi someone you can climb up to? Ugly duckling, do you want to eat Dragon King meat? You think that just because you look good, you can dream of being a princess. Watch how I beat you to death, lowly servant girl. Pa, pa, pa. Qian Yuqing's expression sunk, and she hurriedly ran inside, and Yi Yuanqing also hurriedly followed after her. The scene that appeared in front of them caused Qian Yuqing and Yi Yuanqing's expression to sink. 4 or 5 palace maids surrounded a palace maid and mocked and ridiculed her, and that palace maid was even curled up, allowing one of the palace maids to whip her. Although they were all ordinary people, but when they whipped a human body, that kind of pain was still very unbearable. Furthermore, Even her clothes were torn. The degree of savageness was enough to make one's hair stand up in anger. "What are you doing?" Qian Yuqing shouted coldly. These palace maids were originally sent here because they committed crimes, so they were all not good women, and their jealousy was very strong. Actually, this was already not the first time that Yi was bullied, but Yi had always been enduring it, and was still waiting for Yi Juetian to give her an explanation. End of this chapter. Chapter 1145. Empress, good luck. The palace maids immediately kneeled down in fear. Yi slightly raised her head and looked towards Qian Yuqing. Yi had a good impression of Qian Yuqing. She used all of her strength to bow towards Qian Yuqing. That action of hers made one's heart ache. Yi Yuanqing could already feel that the palace maid who was beaten up was Yi. She is indeed beautiful. No wonder little Tian likes her. But why was she beaten up like this? What happened? Qian Yuqing questioned coldly. The palace maids looked at each other and didn't know how to answer. However, Yi said weakly, "Empress, I didn't do my job well. That's why I was punished." The palace maids let out a breath. "At least you know how to plead for us. If not, I will beat you to death." Qian Yuqing was very angry. She stretched out her palm and waved it. "Pa pa pa." The palace maids immediately felt pain on their faces as they were slapped away. They fell to the side and wailed. "Scram!" Qian Yuqing shouted coldly. The palace maids endured the pain and kneeled down. "Empress, please spare us." Scram! The palace maids were delighted. However, they didn't expect that Yi would actually have the Empress backing her up. Her background is so big. It seems like I have to be more careful in the future. The palace maids left obediently. Qian Yuqing walked to the front of Yi and helped the pitiful Yi up. "Are you all right?" "Empress, I am fine." Yi squeezed out a trace of a smile. Qian Yuqing directly rolled up Yi's sleeves. The red scars on Yi's sleeves were very shocking. The scars on Yi's shoulders were the same. Qian Yuqing directly lifted up Yi's clothes, and on Yi's fair back, sinister wounds could be seen. Qian Yuqing felt that I should have killed those palace maids just now. They are actually so vicious. Yi Yuanqing stood at the side and didn't speak. However, her eyebrows were tightly wrinkled. I never expected that the girl that little Tian likes would actually be abused here. Qian Yuqing couldn't bear to see Yi like this. She decided to have a good talk with Yi tonight. Yi is definitely not a spy. If I didn't come today, Yi might have been beaten to death by those palace maids. I'm really fine. Yi squeezed out a gentle smile and placed down Yi's clothes. Qian Yuqing released a white glow and instantly healed Yi's injuries. "You've suffered." Hearing those 3 words, the grievances in Yi's heart immediately gushed out. She wasn't afraid of being beaten by others, and she wasn't afraid of being mocked by others, but she was afraid of being cared for by others. Tears flowed down from Yi's exquisite face. Qian Yuqing's heart ached for Yi too, and she lightly hugged on it. "Yi, all right, don't cry anymore." Yi Yuanqing was now a little doubtful. Was such a woman a spy? In that case, they were either too good at acting, using their lives to be spies, or they were wrongly accused. But looking at the current situation, it did seem that he was wronged. If he didn't come today, it would be normal for him to be beaten to death. How could she have predicted his return? "Yi, let's go. Don't wait any longer." Qian Yuqing said softly. "If you continue to wait like this, you will lose your life." Yi shook her head and whispered, "Empress, I'm not leaving." "Why?" "If you continue like this, something bad will happen. I also don't wish to see the Empress being punished because of my matter. I am guilty. These punishments are what I deserve." In actuality, Yi didn't wish for others to be harmed because of her matter. If I were to be let go by the Empress, the Emperor would definitely hold me accountable. For me, it isn't worth it. Furthermore, I am still waiting for an explanation. Even if I have to wait till the end of time, I still want to wait for this explanation. "You silly girl, why bother?" Qian Yuqing lightly stroked onto Yi's hair. "Can't you think for yourself?" At this moment, Yi Yuanqing, who was standing at the side, asked, "Yi, do you really like Xiao Tian?" Yi raised her head and looked towards Yi Yuanqing. Her gaze was filled with doubt. I am Yi Juetian's second sister. Yi Yuanqing added. So it is Ye's second sister. Yi immediately felt afraid. Perhaps it was because of her big brother, Yi Hua. Yi felt that this second sister of hers is probably not that easy to talk to. Qian Yuqing could sense that Yi's body was trembling. Seems like Yi is truly afraid of Yi Hua. Furthermore, upon hearing that Yi is Yi Hua's little sister, Yi immediately thought that Yi is the same as Yi Hua. Yi, don't be afraid. Qian Yuqing's words were still useful. In this kind of palace, the only person that Yi could trust was Qian Yuqing. In Yi's heart, she didn't know if she should trust Yi Juetian or not. Yi Yuanqing sighed in his heart, not knowing what to say. Yi only managed to calm herself down after a long while. Just now, her emotions were a bit big. After all, Yi was also an ordinary person, and even if she wasn't made of iron, she still had emotions. Empress, is Yi going to get married soon? Yi asked in a low voice. Her disappointment was clear to see. Qian Yuqing sighed lightly. Yes, very soon. Yi bit her lips tightly. Oh, Yi, take it slow. Don't do anything foolish, understand? I will think of a way for you. Qian Yuqing warned. She was afraid that Yi would take things too hard, and if that happened, all the things that Xiao Tian did would be wasted. Looking at Yi's lifeless look, Qian Yuqing wanted to tell Yi that in actuality, Xiao Tian got married in order to save your life. However, Qian Yuqing was afraid that if she were to tell Yi about this matter, Yi would have even more terrifying thoughts, and by then, it would be even more troublesome. However, if I don't tell Yi about this matter, am I going to let Yi continue to be sad? I am truly in a dilemma. Empress, don't worry. I won't do anything foolish. Don't go. Yi didn't finish her words, but Qian Yuqing knew what Yi wanted to say. On this matter, it was very hard for Yi Hua to change his mind. After all, this matter was related to his mother, and it could be counted as touching Yi Hua's reverse scale. Qian Yuqing tidied up Yi's clothes, then said coldly towards the woodshed, if you all dare to bully people again, kill without mercy. No one will be able to save you all. When the palace maids heard that, they trembled. It wasn't good for Qian Yuqing to stay for too long. If Yi Hua heard what she said, he would definitely scold her again. Right now, Yi Hua's mood wasn't good to begin with. After walking out of the woodshed, Qian Yuqing asked, Yuanqing, do you feel that he looks like a spy? Doesn't look like one. Yi Yuanqing shook his head. This was based on a woman's intuition, because right now, he was only looking at the surface. However, Yi Hua is certain. Yi Yuanqing said lightly. After all, Yi's suspicion is the biggest, and it is an iron-like fact that Yi wasted the spiritual spring. That's right, if he didn't waste the spiritual spring, this might not have happened. Qian Yuqing let out a light sigh. On one hand, she was worried about her mother, and, on the other hand, she was worried about Yi. Could it be that there is no way to satisfy both sides? Inside the woodshed, Yi sat on the stone bench at the side, took out the lollipop that Yi Zizi gave to her, and held it in her mouth. End of this chapter. Chapter 1146. Feeling that special sweetness, Yi felt comfortable in her heart. Then, she wrapped it up in paper and ate it when she was in a bad mood. However, when she thought about how Ye was about to get married, Yi felt uncomfortable. It has been so long. Why isn't there a single explanation? Even if it's just a simple explanation, I don't want much. I just want a sentence. Yi slightly raised her head and looked at the sky above the palace. The sky was no longer as blue as before. Qian Yuqing and Yi Yuanqing arrived at Lu Jing's bedroom and discovered that Yi Hua was discussing something with his mother. Aunt Lu, Yi Yuanqing called out sweetly. Yuanqing is here. Quickly let Aunt Lu take a look. Lu Jing's mood was very good as she smiled towards Yi Yuanqing. Yi Yuanqing walked to Lu Jing's side and held onto Lu Jing's hand. Aunt Lu, you are much prettier than before. Then, wasn't Aunt Lu beautiful before? Lu Jing asked back. Yi Yuanqing didn't know what to say. This reaction caused Lu Jing to laugh. Aunt Lu, You are teasing Yuanqing again. Yi Yuanqing acted coquettishly. Lu Jing lightly caressed Yi Yuanqing's hair. At this moment, 3 figures appeared at the door. Qingya, Donghuang Baiji, and Qing Yutong could be seen slowly walking in. It had been a few days since Yi Hua last talked to Qingya and Donghuang Baiji. Right now, no one was talking to each other. Mother, the 3 respectfully called out. Sister-in-law is here. Yi Yuanqing smiled happily. Although she had never seen Qing Yutong before, she had heard about her. Qing Yutong looked at Yi Yuanqing with a dumbfounded look on her face. Could this be brother-in-law's concubine again? She looks quite pretty. Brother-in-law finally understands and knows how to expand his harem. Yutong, this is Yi Hua's sister. Qingya introduced, not letting her sister think too much. Qing Yutong's mouth twitched. So she is brother-in-law's sister, my God. I was thinking too much just now. What a scary thought. Hello, sister-in-law. Hello, sister-in-law. Yi Yuanqing could feel that Qing Yutong's personality was very easy to get along with. However, Yi Yuanqing also felt that Big Brother seemed to have quarreled with the 2 sisters-in-law. Big Brother didn't even bother to look at them. Lu Jing was helpless. This son of mine just wants face so much. He just had to coax his wife a little. It was a very simple matter, but the more he coaxed her, the more complicated it became. Lu Jing laughed lightly. Yehua, call Lil Tian and Gong Yu over. After all, this is also their matter. Yi Huan nodded his head, then sent a sound transmission to Yi Juetian to bring Gong Yu over. What is it, mother? Qian Yuqing curiously asked. Yi Hua said faintly, I plan to let them get married as soon as possible. Everyone was a little confused. Wasn't it supposed to be 2 months later? Why was it suddenly brought forward? Yi Huan knew that these people were puzzled, and he said gravely, recently a lot of bad things have happened, and I plan to wash away the bad things that have happened. I hope that there will be a good omen. Everyone finally understood what Yi Hua was planning to do. Thinking about it, it made sense. Too many bad things had happened recently, and it was a good choice to wash away the bad news. They were going to get married anyway, so it didn't matter if they got married earlier. However, Qian Yuqing was worried about Yi Juetian and Gong Yu quickly appeared, and the first thing they did was respectfully greet them. Little Tian, Yi Hua called out lightly. Big Brother, do you have any instructions for me? Big Brother plans to let you and Gong Yu get married as soon as possible, and the time will be 7 days later. Yi Hua said lightly. He hoped that this would bring him a bit of good luck. After all, this was a happy occasion. After Gong Yu heard this, she felt joyous in her heart. Only by getting married as soon as possible would the stone in my heart be at ease. However, after Yi Juetian heard this, he instantly became absent-minded. Although he knew that the wedding was going to be completed soon, he wasn't prepared at all in his heart. Big Brother, isn't it a bit too hasty? Yi Juetian said in a soft voice. You don't have to worry about this matter. Big Brother will arrange it for you. Yi Hua said faintly. Now that my little brother has gotten married, I will be able to put my heart at ease and deal with other matters. Yi Juetian didn't say anything. Little Tian, in the future, you'll be a man with a wife, so you have to become more sensible. Do you understand? Take good care of Gong Yu. Lu Jing said with a slight smile, feeling gratified in her heart. Her youngest son's marriage has finally been settled. Yi Juetian was still able to say, All right, mother, I understand. I will take good care of Gong Yu. Gong Yu stood at the side, looking very shy, just like a little wife. Gong Yu wasn't faking it. She was indeed very happy. I still have some matters to attend to. Mother, I will be leaving first. Yi Hua stood up and said, faintly, seemingly not wanting to sit in the same room as Qingya and Donghuang Baiji. Lu Jing wrinkled her brows. Yi Hua, why are you in such a rush? Eat at mother's place. The 2 of you, don't leave. Accompany this old mother to eat. Everyone knew what Lu Jing's intention was. I have already said it. Is Yi Hua not going to accompany mother to eat? That's impossible. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt wronged in their hearts. It was clearly you who was in the wrong first, and yet you're still giving us that attitude right now, and you're even ignoring us. All right, let's see who can last longer. The dishes were all prepared by Blood Demon, the head chef, and all of the dishes were Yi Hua's favorite dishes, such as crayfish crab. The delightful aroma immediately pervaded the entire room. Brother-in-law, for little Tion's big wedding. Who are we going to invite over? We have to make it more lively. Qin Yutong asked curiously. Yi Hua had long thought about this, and he said faintly the big shots from all of the surrounding powers, to be more precise, the big shots from the entire north. What, to make it so big? Qin Yutong felt that this is fun. Brother-in-law is probably trying to show off his strength, right? Qin Yutong indeed understood Yi Hua. Yi Hua indeed wants to show off his strength and let the entire north know that Wushu Empire is invincible. Yi Hua nodded his head. When the time comes, the two of you should be more dignified. This sentence was clearly said to Qinya and Dongwang Baiji. It's fine to quarrel, but when the day comes, remember your identity and don't lose face for me. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji still don't know what Yi Hua meant. This fellow not only wants to show off his strength, he also wants to show off his women. He is simply born to act cool. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji knew what was more important. When the time comes, all of the big shots from the entire north will be present. No matter how much they quarrel, they will still have to give Yi Hua face. Yuqing, what's wrong? Yi Hua asked lightly. He noticed that Qian Yuqing's expression was a bit abnormal. Qian Yuqing smiled slightly. It's nothing. In actuality, Qian Yuqing was thinking, when the time comes, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this moment, Qing suddenly said, Yuqing is thinking, when are you going to give her a wedding? This sentence of hers is very profound. Yi Hua immediately understood what Qing was trying to say. You are blaming me for not giving you a wedding again. Isn't it just a ceremony? If these women want to mention it once a year, then I will just drag it on for a year. End of this chapter. Chapter 1147. At this time, Lu Jing also said, Yehua, no matter how busy you are, you still have to think about your wife. Do you understand? With Granny speaking up for them, Qinya and the others were happy in their hearts. It is fortunate that we have Granny to help us. Yihua said in a low voice, Mother, I understand. After I am done with this matter, I will marry them. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji snorted in their hearts. What kind of tone is this? It's as if he's very unwilling. Act tough, King Yi. We still haven't agreed to it. Lu Jing was also helping her son and daughter-in-law to ease the tension between them. Husband and wife are fighting on the bed, right? Look, you agreed to get married. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji's expressions became much worse. After Yihua finished eating, he went to look for absolute heaven to see if there was any progress. Soon after, Yihua once again held a mobilization meeting and invited all of the powers in the north. Those who gave him face would come. Not giving me face, he. Of course, the wedding invitations were sent out by a group of subordinates. Although the time was relatively short, it was still within the scope of control. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji still joined the group to help out, but the Cold War still continued, and Qin Yutong and Qian Yuqing were also unable to do anything about it. Yi Juetian was vexed, but Gong Yu was happy. After all, she was about to marry into the Yi family. At that time, he would be a member of the Yi family. In the woodshed, no one dared to bully Yi anymore. These palace maids were not fools. They knew that Yi was protected by the Empress. If they continued to bully her, they would be courting death. At this time, several palace maids gathered together to discuss the matter of Lord Yi, which was also the latest news. Have you heard? Lord Ye's wedding date has been brought forward. Of course I know. It was supposed to be a few months, but it was suddenly postponed to a few days later. I'm so envious. To be able to marry a man like Prince Yi, he's so handsome, that's right. Prince Yi and His Majesty are blood-related brothers. They look exactly the same. Sleeping with one is equivalent to sleeping with two. You coquettish hussy. Yi carried her dinner and was just about to enter when she heard the news about Yi Juetian. She stopped in her tracks. When Yi heard that Ye's wedding date had been brought forward a few days later, she was completely stupefied, and the rice bowl in her hand fell to the ground. This attracted the attention of the palace maids inside. The palace maids walked out one after another, and when they saw Yi, who was in a daze, they were already used to it. This woman was so infatuated that it felt like she was sick. However, she had the support of the Empress. The palace maid hurriedly helped Yi tidy up and even warmly invited Yi into the room. Yi's mind was filled with the news of Ye's upcoming marriage. On this day, Yi didn't know how she got through it. She felt like her inner world had completely collapsed. Although I knew that this day would come, but when it really came, I didn't know what to do. Panic, all kinds of emotions pervaded Yi's mind. However, wasn't it the same for Yi Juetian as well? They were clearly in the same palace. Yet, it was hard for them to meet each other. Night fell. Yi got up from the bed. Since Yi didn't come and look for me, then I will go and look for Yi. Why didn't you come and meet me? Even if you just let someone pass a word to me, it would be fine. After putting on her clothes, Yi opened the door and walked out, appearing to be very careful. But where is Ye? The imperial palace is so big. Where am I going to find him? Yi couldn't care less. If she didn't find Ye, she would even have the heart to die. If they didn't want him anymore, then what was the point of him staying in this world? Walking in the dark and gloomy imperial palace, Yi felt so unfamiliar and scary. The walls were clearly not very tall, yet they separated Yi and Ye. And why did you come out? A voice rang out behind Yi. Yi's heart sunk. I just came out, and I'm going to be caught? Suddenly turning her head around, Yi saw a little girl. Isn't this the little girl that gave me a candy that day? It's you. Yi let out a breath. I feel that this little girl doesn't have any ill intentions. The little girl that came was precisely Yi Zizi. In actuality, Yi Zizi also came to look for Yi. Yi Zizi thought to herself that the lollipop should have been finished by Yi, right? Seeing that Yi is pitiful, I decided to give you another lollipop. In the end, I didn't expect that Yi would sneak out. Don't you know that you will die if you sneak out like this? Yi Zizi said, while shouting the lollipop. Yi lightly bit on her lips. She knew the rules of the woodshed. Without the orders of a female official, sneaking out of the woodshed was a crime. Yi Zizi let out a light sigh. This woman is truly pitiful. Where do you want to go? Yi Zizi asked curiously. I want to go look for Yi. Yi didn't know what to do and directly set out her purpose. Yi Zizi asked confusedly, Yi Juetian. Oh, why are you looking for him? I want to ask him. Yi said in a low voice, appearing to be in a lot of pain. Yi Zizi let out a light sigh. Do you know where Yi Juetian's bedroom is? I don't know. You are really stupid just swaggering around like this. If you get caught, you'll be dead for sure. Yi Zizi shook her head. This woman is really stupid. She doesn't even know how to plan properly before coming out. However, Yi Zizi also knew why Yi was in a hurry to look for Yi Juetian. After all, the news of the marriage had already spread, and Yi was anxious. Should I help her or not? Looking at such a pitiful woman, Yi Zizi let out a breath. I will bring you there. Really? Will it be inconvenient? Yi felt happy in her heart, but she still had to think for Yi Zizi's sake. Don't let Yi Zizi get punished because of me. What's inconvenient about it? Aren't you just saying a few words? Yi Zizi asked. And just asking a few words. All right. I, Yi Zizi, have never done a good deed before, so I will do a good deed today. Yi Zizi grabbed onto Yi's hand and instantly disappeared from the spot. Within Yi Juetian's bedroom, there were only a few palace maids on duty. However, those few palace maids immediately became strange, as if they were fixed in place. Yi Juetian and Gong Yu, who were in the room, frowned, and Gong Yu came out from her own room. The two looked at each other. It's already so late. Who wants to come and cause trouble? Right now, Yi appeared at the bottom of the stairs outside the door, and Yi Zizi stood guard for her. Since I have already helped, I might as well help till the end. Yi, who was outside, lightly called out. Yi Juetian, who was in the room, was startled, while Gong Yu tightly wrinkled her brows. I never expected that the one who came was actually Yi. This damnable woman. I'm going to get married soon. Why does she still have to come and cause trouble? Is she trying to cause trouble? Gong Yu looked towards Yi Juetian and saw that Yi Juetian had a joyous look on his face and was about to rush out. Gong Yu held onto the excited Yi Juetian and Yi Juetian turned around with a puzzled expression. You can't go out right now. If you go out, you'll be harming Yi. Gone, you said gravely. Yi Juetian's excited look was instantly defeated by reality. That's right. End of this chapter. Chapter 1148. I can't go out if Big Brother hears about this and I meet with Yi again, then Big Brother, everything that I have done will be in vain. However, I really want to go out. Look at Yi, hug her tightly, and tell her how much I miss you, that me and Gong Yu getting married is all for you. As long as you can live, I'm willing to do anything. Ye, Yi called out once again. Why is Ye ignoring me? You didn't come, but I came, yet I closed the door and refused to see you. Could it be that Ye really doesn't like me anymore? That can't be. Ye likes me. He said it before. Hearing Yi's call, Yi Juetian's brain transmitted the signal to rush out. Hug the woman I love and tell her all of your feelings. However, Yi Juetian's rationality told him that the consequences of rushing out would be very severe. Right now, the wedding invitations had already been sent out. If anything were to happen, the entire Wushu Empire's face would be thrown away. Not only Big Brother would be humiliated, everyone would be humiliated as well. Juetian, don't be rash. Do you want to kill Yi? Gong Yu shouted lightly, stopping the two from meeting. Yi Juetian stopped moving. He was completely defeated by reality. What should I do? What should I do? Yi Juetian mumbled. He discovered that he was so useless. He didn't even dare to push open the door, as if the weight of the door was not something that he could push open at all. Gong Yu bit her lips tightly. You have to quickly let Yi go back. If Yi is discovered, it will be even more dangerous. Yi Juetian felt that what Gong Yu said was right. Only by obediently staying in the woodshed would Yi be able to keep her life. Yay! Yi called out for the third time, her tone becoming more and more miserable each time. Yi Juetian called out the name in his heart. Yi, who was standing outside the door, was delighted, seemingly wanting to rush up the stairs, push open the door, and fiercely hug Ye. I don't care what you did in the past. As long as you talk to me, don't ignore me. However, Yi Juetian said gravely, don't move. Yi, who was raising her leg, stopped and looked at the double doors above her head, as well as the human figure. Ye is right there, and the human figure at the side should be Gong Yu, right? Right when Yi was about to speak, Yi Juetian said, Yi, go back, don't come again. Yi, whose face was filled with joy, was stunned. Her entire body trembled, and she felt her ears ringing. Ye actually told her to leave? How could this be? Ye, I'm here to see you. It's me, Yi, can you come out? Yi squeezed out a smile and smiled at the figure. This smile was heartbreaking. At the very least, Yi Zizi, who was standing not far away, felt uncomfortable when she saw it. Yi Juetian tightly clenched his fists, while Gong Yu held on to Yi Juetian's hand, preventing him from rushing out. Go back and stay in the woodshed, Yi Juetian said in a low voice. Yi did not understand. Why was she still unwilling to take a look even though she was here? Yay, do you not like me anymore? Yi asked with a desolate tone. At this moment, the cold wind was howling, and Yi's silhouette seemed so frail and weak. Yi Zizi gently waved her hand and stopped the cold wind. A struggling expression appeared on Yi Juetian's face. Idiot, how could I not like you? As long as you are alive, I will continue to like you. If you are dead, who am I going to like? Yi, I like you. Then, why aren't you willing to come out and see me? Yi, go back, you are not safe right now. Yi Juetian said gravely. There are so many spies in the palace, and if Big Brother hears about this, it would be troublesome. Yi did not cry, nor did she make a fuss. She just looked at the two figures in the room and fell heartache. She said that she likes me, yet she isn't willing to see me. Is this really love? This is no longer love. This kind of love has already lost its meaning. If you want me to go back to the woodshed, then I will go back. Yi will still choose to listen to you, even if you don't like Yi anymore. Carrying disappointment, Yi turned around and left. Gong Yu let out a breath. This damned woman, I almost let them meet. Luckily, Yi Juetian did not rush out. No, if this Yi doesn't die, I won't be able to have a day of peace. I have to think of a way. Juetian, things will get better in the future. As long as mother's illness is cured, Big Brother won't blame E. At that time, you could just plead for E, and E will be fine. Gong Yu consoled E attentively, acting as a kind-hearted woman. Yi Juetian felt that what Gong Yu said was right. As long as mother's illness is cured, Big Brother's hostility towards E should lessen a bit. Gong Yu, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know what to do. Yi Juetian thanked sincerely. Gong Yu smiled tenderly. Juetian, is there a need to be so courteous between us? After hearing that, Yi Juetian felt very unnatural. I and Gong Yu have already gotten intimate with each other, and have already done the deed of husband and wife. I can only hope that these days will be over soon. A cold light flashed past Gong Yu's eyes, and she seemed to have an idea. On the other side, Yi Zizi brought E back to the woodshed. It's fine. I will listen to Ye's words and properly stay here. E forced out a smile, but who knew how much pain she was feeling in her heart. Yi Zizi did not say anything and took out a lollipop. The one you gave me last time, I haven't finished eating it yet. E took out the lollipop and showed it to Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi didn't expect that E would eat a lollipop like this and became speechless. Thank you for today's matter. If you need any help, just call for me. E was very grateful towards Yi Zizi. There's still good people in the palace. I reckon that even Yi Zizi didn't expect that there would be someone who would call her a good person. Yi Zizi laughed lightly. If I can't even solve the problem myself, what's the point of calling for you? I will be leaving first then, Yi Zizi said faintly. Without waiting for Yi to say anything, Yi Zizi disappeared from where she was. After Yi Zizi left, Yi slowly sat on the bed and looked at the flickering oil lamp. No matter what, I will be able to hear Ye's voice. He said that he likes me, and that is enough. Right now, Yi was hypnotizing herself. She would rather believe that Yi Juetian likes me than believe in anything else. Yi sat on the bed for a very, very long time and thought for a very long time. Yi, a voice suddenly rang out. Yi looked towards the corner of the room and cried out in surprise, Gong Yu. Yi. Gong Yu walked forward and lightly hugged onto Yi. Yi revealed a moved look on her face as she hugged onto Gong Yu tightly. However, Gong Yu's gaze was not moved. Instead, it was filled with a sinister meaning. Yi, it's fine. It will be fine in the future. Gong Yu consoled Yi lightly. If it was possible, I would make Yi die without a burial ground right now. However, if she killed Yi, Big Brother Emperor would definitely investigate this matter. The gains would not make up for the losses. Yi was the one who couldn't stand being consoled by others the most. At this moment, she couldn't hold it in any longer, and her tears fell like rain. End of this chapter. Chapter 1149. Why doesn't Ye even want to see me? Why, Gong Yu? Gong Yu said gravely, Originally, I didn't plan to tell you about this matter, but looking at how painful you two are, I can't bear to see you two. What matter? Big Brother Emperor thinks that you are a spy. You intentionally wasted Empress Dowager's medicine. Gong Yu said in a low voice as she tightly held onto Yi's hand, seemingly wanting Yi to not take this matter to heart. However, wasn't this also a kind of hint? It was hinting that Yi Juetian didn't want to see you because of this. No, I'm not a spy. Gong Yu, you have to believe me, I'm not a spy. Yi immediately became flustered. That pleading gaze of hers seemed to have caught onto the last straw. Gong Yu said in a low voice, I believe you are such a kind girl. How could you possibly be a spy? But Yi doesn't believe me? Yi asked nervously. This matter is related to Ju Tian's mother. You should understand because Big Brother Emperor has evidence. Yi was a bit at a loss as she held onto her head and said in a low voice, I'm not a spy. I really am not a spy. I did waste Empress Dowager's medicine, but I really am not a spy. Don't be like this. You will make my heart ache. Gong Yu lightly hugged onto and revealed a complacent smile on her face. Gong Yu, what should I do? Just what should I do? Gong Yu revealed an expression that seemed like she wanted to say something, but didn't know how to say it. After seeing that, Yi hurriedly asked, Gongyu, please tell me, what should I do? I don't want Ye to misunderstand me. Anyone can do it, but I don't want Ye to misunderstand me. Yi, as long as Big Brother Emperor believes you, everyone will believe you. I will go and look for Big Brother Emperor then. Even I can't see Big Brother Emperor. If you go and look for him, aren't you just courting death? What should I do then? Is there any way to see Big Brother Emperor? Yi asked anxiously. Gongyu continued. The reason why I don't want to say is because it is very dangerous, you know? It's fine. No matter how dangerous it is, I will go and explain myself, Yi said firmly. She could not let Ye think that she was a spy. Gongyu sighed softly. In a few days, it will be Mai and Zhu Tian's wedding. At that time, Big Brother Emperor and the bosses of the various powers will all be present. This is also your best opportunity. Big Brother Emperor will definitely not kill you on that day, and you will have the opportunity to explain yourself. If he was a little smarter, she would know that this was a trap. This was no longer a wedding. Instead, it was slapping Yi Hua's face, and Gongyu wanted to kill him with a borrowed knife. At this moment, Yi only wanted to explain that she wasn't a spy. She didn't even think that Gongyu would harm her, because such an excuse would make sense. Because only by making a big deal out of this matter would they take it seriously. I will do that for your wedding. Yi hesitated for a moment. Yi seemed to be thinking of others. Gongyu smiled faintly and said, Yi, your innocence is more important than my wedding. Zhu Tian, and I will be very happy if you clear your innocence. Yi was very touched and hugged onto Gongyu's body tightly. Gongyu, you are too good to me. I will definitely remember you. Fool, Gongyu said lightly, and a sinister smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. You are a fool. When the time comes, I will see how you die. But I still want you to understand one thing. Because of you, Zhu Tian is in a very dangerous situation. Gongyu's words were another kind of hint. If you don't die, Zhu Tian will never be safe in his entire life. Yi didn't understand the meaning behind Gongyu's words, but she knew that her existence was putting Ye in a difficult position or in danger, and even more people would be implicated. I'm just like a jinx. No matter where I go, I will always be unwelcomed, and I will always do the wrong things. If I can, I really want to die, since I have chosen to explain myself on that day. If I can't explain myself clearly, then I will have already died. I am not a spy. Gongyu, do you have that medicine? Yi asked in a low voice. Gongyu was happy. I didn't expect that Yi would be stupid to such an extent. However, this is good as well. At least I am able to act according to my plan. Yi, what did you say? Gongyu feigned ignorance and asked. It's the kind of medicine that will kill you. Yi was very calm right now. If death is able to prove my innocence, I will not hesitate to do so. At the very least, in Ye's heart, I am not a spy. I am that stupid and foolish woman. Gongyu pretended to be shocked. Yi, are you crazy? I don't have that kind of medicine. Gongyu, Yi called out lightly, and soon after, she knelt in front of Gongyu. This caused Gongyu to feel very satisfied. Even a lowly servant like you dares to snatch a man from me. Gongyu, I will make sure that you don't even know how you died. Yi, what are you doing? Hurry up and get up. Gongyu hurriedly went to help her up, but Yi refused to get up. Gongyu, I beg you, I know you have it. Just give it to me. Of course, Gongyu wouldn't give it to him directly. At the very least, she had to put on an act and say a few polite words. This won't do. If other people were to find out that I gave you the medicine, Gongyu, I swear that I won't say a word about what we've said tonight, even if I die. Gongyu said seriously, it's not that I don't believe you, but if something happens to you, what will happen to Zhu Tian? Gongyu, if something really happens to me, help me take good care of Zhu Tian. I don't want to be a despicable person in Zhu Tian's heart. I beg of you. After speaking, Yi actually started kowtowing. However, Gongyu did not stop Yi immediately. She enjoyed Yi's kowtow very much. It was too comfortable. No. I'll give it to you, okay? After having enough fun, Gongyu put on a look of reluctance. However, Yi squeezed out a smile and said, Thank you, Ganyu. Ganyu took out a sparkling and translucent pill and said in a deep voice, "This pill can make you feel no pain." However, Ganyu was thinking in her mind, "This is the soul-severing pill. After eating it, I will disappear into thin air, and even my soul will disappear into thin air. I will completely disappear from this world, and I won't even have an afterlife." Yi gently took the pill and placed it in her palm, feeling the coldness of the pill. "Ganyu, thank you very much. You have helped me too much." Ganyu patted onto Yi's shoulder. "Yi, I will always help you, and when the time comes, I will make arrangements for you." "All right." Yi nodded her head and tightly held onto the pill. "Yi, it is already very late. I will be leaving first. If I were to be discovered by someone, it would be hard for me to absolve myself from the blame. Ganyu, remember my words. Take good care of Ye." "Fool, nothing will happen to you," Ganyu said with a slight smile, then disappeared from the room. End of this chapter. Chapter 1150. Yi sat on the bed. She didn't expect that her big brother, the Emperor, thought that she was a spy. Ye also knew. No wonder Ye had been ignoring him during this period of time. Just now, she also closed the door and refused to see him. So it was because of this. If it wasn't for Ganyu, he wouldn't have known. Ganyu was really his benefactor. If he could explain it clearly, he would definitely repay Ganyu well. He was simply courting death by doing this. On the day of the wedding, the people who came were all influential figures in the north. Yihua also attached great importance to this matter and was prepared to show off for a while. Yet, you suddenly came out to cause trouble. Wouldn't that be slapping Yihua's face in front of everyone? With Yihua's temper, it was impossible for him to live. Ganyu took advantage of this and sent Yi to her death. Therefore, on that day, regardless of whether Yi explained clearly or not, she was dead. That was destined. However, Yi was still foolishly obedient. She didn't tell anyone about this, not even Qian Yuqing. Qian Yuqing was here to tell him not to do anything rash. However, Qian Yuqing underestimated Yi's determination. "Because I'm being wrongly accused, Yi is unable to bear being wrongly accused like this, especially when even Ye doesn't believe me. Therefore, he had to explain it clearly." Time passed quickly. The entire Voidless Empire was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. It was bustling with noise and excitement, as if it was the new year. Red lanterns were hung all over the streets, which was also a symbol of blessing. However, inside the palace, there was a sea of joy. Everyone's faces were filled with joy. All the subordinates were discussing what to wear tomorrow, especially the groomsmen's group. Absolute Heaven was very honored to be one of the groomsmen. If Wei Chong was here, he would definitely go and be the groomsman as well. Lai Gu also wanted to be the groomsman, but right now, Lai Gu was so huge, and he was hiding in a valley beside Voidless Empire. Not being able to come back home, Lai Gu's 4 wives would sometimes go back home to take a few glances at Lai Gu, and Lai Gu would only be able to look at Lai Gu and not be able to touch Lai Gu. This kind of feeling to a dragon, this is torture. That's why that Qing Su is so ruthless. Other than Zhu Tian, Yi Hong and Luo Ho had also joined in. LV Lu was too ashamed to go. She didn't even reconnect her broken arm. She seemed to be using this method to remind herself. Since it was a joyous occasion, Yihua decided that the theme of tomorrow's celebration would be red. As for the style, it was up to you. But remember, don't embarrass yourself. Tomorrow will be the most important day for the entire Voidless Empire. The entire North will fall under my power. At this moment, Yihua was finally seated in the bedroom. He was mainly here to supervise the dressing of these women. Hundreds of custom-made red festive dresses could be seen hanging on both sides of the wall. These kinds of dresses did not lose their noble temperament, and they also had the grandeur that an empress should have. However, Yihua still had to personally take a look at them, so that Qinya and Dongwang Baiji wouldn't cause any trouble. While the 4 women were changing their clothes behind the barrier, Yihua just sat outside and drank tea. His mood became slightly better. I hope that by using Xiao Tian's marriage, I will be able to have good luck. Just changing clothes? Why are you changing for so long? Yihua couldn't help but urge. Could it be that the two of you want to change for the entire night? This woman was so troublesome to change her clothes. Qing Yutong shouted out, "Brother-in-law, this headdress is too difficult to wear. It's so complicated." Sigh. Yihua let out a light sigh. These clothes, every single one of them, even have a matching head accessory. It is indeed a bit difficult to make. After lighting up a stick of cigarette, Yihua thought about other things. There is still no news from the White Bones. The progress seems to be very slow. I wonder if any unexpected situations will occur during the wedding ceremony this time. Right now, I am already being targeted. Under normal circumstances, after making such a big move, I will definitely come over and cause trouble. Seems like I have to take some precautions. However, it is also good for me to come over and let these people see Voidless Empire's strength. Just as Yihua was pondering, the four women walked out from behind the barrier. Yihua went into a slight daze. Holy shit, how can my women be so beautiful? If I were to bring them out tomorrow, I would become the envy of others. That would give me too much face. For different styles, and each of them had a different charm to them. Beautiful, too beautiful. Other than being beautiful, their temperament and grandeur are also top-notch, as expected of my women. This time, they finally gave me a bit of face. However, I cannot let them become too arrogant. Therefore, not good-looking, change, Yihua said faintly. Look at that Qinya and Dongwang Baiji. They are still putting on such a frown. If they're still like this tomorrow, I will spank their butts until they are swollen. The four women did not say anything and continued changing clothes. If it wasn't because tomorrow is very important, would you be so smug? After a while, the four women changed into another set. Yihua felt that the new set was not as good-looking as the first set. Continue changing. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were clearly swallowing their anger. However, they endured their anger and went to change into another set. Then they began. Not good-looking, change. Continue changing. Change. God knows how many sets were changed. Qinya couldn't take it anymore and shouted out gravely, "Yihua, are you messing with me?" Yihua raised his head slightly and looked at Qinya. "What are you talking about?" "I'm just thinking about tomorrow." "You." Even Qian Yuqing and Qing Yutong became gloomy. Taking off my clothes, putting on my clothes, and even having to put on my clothes, this is so troublesome. Yihua knew that it was about time and said faintly, "We're the first set tomorrow." The four wives, this is simply bullying. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji immediately hammered at Yihua, while Yihua disappeared from where he was, not giving the two of them a chance. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji stomped their feet in anger. Count yourself lucky. Otherwise, I would have hammered you to death for playing with people. Yihua chose a red robe with golden threads inlaid on it. When wearing this robe, it looks very lively. Gold represents imperial power. Red represents blessing. Not bad. Not bad. Zishan, come over for a moment. Yihua called out lightly. Since Wei Chong wasn't around, there were a lot of things that needed to be managed by other subordinates. Because Wei Chong went missing, Tang Wei was very depressed, and she basically didn't dare to step out of the door. Zishan's working ability was very strong. Thus, the task of receiving the foreign guests was given to Zishan. Subordinate, greetings to your honor. Zishan's figure quickly appeared behind Yihua and said respectfully, "Is everyone here?" Yihua asked faintly. Zishan said in a low voice, "Your honor, all of the powers in northern Liang are here. All of Aloe River's powers are here as well. Half of Aloe River's ancient land's powers are here, but if you have anything to say, just say it," Yihua said faintly. But other than northern Liang, Aloe River's powers and ancient land's powers have different opinions towards Wushu Empire, Zishan said rather vaguely. In actuality, other people just felt that it was nothing much. End of this chapter. Chapter 11:51. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Previously, we only met with Yuanyang Palace. Seems like there are still some people who don't believe in this, and only half of them actually came. Also, this Aluo seems like I'll have to teach them a lesson tomorrow. Yes, Your Honor. Everything has been arranged properly. We will definitely be able to intimidate those people. Zishan was very excited in her heart. Tomorrow will be the day that I will be able to witness Wushu Empire's strength. What I want is not to intimidate, but to make them fear, Yihua said gravely. Zishan lowered her head and shouted out, Yes, Your Honor. If there is nothing else, subordinate will be leaving now. Zishan said in a low voice. Yihua flicked away the cigarette ash and said lightly, Wait. Your Honor, is there anything else? I heard that you and that fellow Yihong had a conflict again. Yihua slowly turned around and asked curiously. Zishan lowered her head, bit her lips lightly, and didn't say anything. Yihua raised his head and looked at Wushu Empire's night sky. The countless stars in the night sky were incredibly beautiful, and Yihua said slowly, Zishan, back then, I acted as the go-between for you. I have the heart to repay you. LV Liang and Yihong traveled a long distance to bring Ali back to my side. I owe them this favor. LV Liang is the big brother, and his temper is a bit strong. Yihong is an honest person, and marrying you to an honest person like Yihong should be a perfect thing. However, after so many years have passed, I realized that Yihong is too honest. I realized that otherwise, Yihong is too honest. Even though he has obtained power, he is still the same as before. Zishan, you are a deity, and you have your own strength as well. However, no matter what, Yihong is still a man, and a husband and wife must respect each other. Yihua sighed lightly. While I, the Supreme Overlord, am lecturing others in a serious manner, I am actually the same as well. Zishan didn't say anything after hearing what Yihua said. I was the one who hosted your wedding back then, and it was my first time hosting a wedding like that. It was pretty good, but I don't feel like it anymore. A melon that is forcefully picked won't be sweet. If the two of you can't live on anymore, you can just leave, I won't stop you. Yihua said lightly. This time, he wasn't pretending, he was serious. If they were afraid that I would blame them, then it's fine now. I have already spoken, and the two of you can leave and live the life that you want. Zishan's body trembled. Divorce? This was something that Zishan had never thought of before. Although she often scolded Yihong, she had never thought of divorcing him. Where else could she find such a man who allowed her to beat and scold him? In the end, he even coaxed her and said that the next one would be even more gentle. That was a lie. It didn't exist. Your Honor, the arrangement that you made back then is the luckiest thing that happened to me. Zishan, I will definitely not divorce this marriage. Zishan's eyes were filled with determination. After hearing that, Yihua nodded his head. It isn't good for me to get too involved in your family's matters. You can do as you see fit. Thank you for your understanding, Your Honor. Let's go back and rest. It's been a long day. There are still many things to do tomorrow. Yes. Seeing that Zishan had left, Yihua also planned to return to his room and rest. Tomorrow is a good day, and it can be seen from the numerous stars in the sky. Zishan, who was walking on the main road of the Imperial Palace, tightly wrinkled her brows. While thinking about what his honor said to her, Zishan unknowingly arrived at his honor's bedroom. Zishan stood outside the house and thought for a long time. In the end, she pushed open the door and entered the house. It is already so late. Zishan thought to herself that Yihong should have already fallen asleep. Zishan took a look at the small room at the side. Recently, the husband and wife had been sleeping in separate rooms. Zishan slept on the big bed, and Yihong slept in the small room. The Cold War between the husband and wife was still going on. Zishan pouted her mouth and stood outside the small room. Soon after, she lightly pushed open the door and entered the small room. Yihong didn't sleep either. Yihong had been waiting for Zishan to come back. If Zishan doesn't come back, I will be worried. However, today, Zishan actually came into my room. What is going on? Yihong didn't understand. Could it be that Zishan is going to scold me again? We have already quarreled, and she still wants to scold me? If that's the case, I really can't take it anymore. However, Yihong didn't hear the sound of quarreling. Instead, she heard a slight sound. This seems to be the sound of Zishan taking off her clothes, right? What is Zishan trying to do? Is she trying to force herself on me? For the sake of giving birth to a child, could it be that she doesn't want to consider my feelings? Seems like this isn't the first or second time that she has forced herself on me. Not long after, Yihong felt a warm and delicate body squeezing into the blanket and tightly hugging onto her. At this moment, Yihong went into a daze. This feeling is so subtle. It is just like how I felt when I was dating Zishan just now. The two of them didn't speak, and there was an ambiguous atmosphere in the air. Of course, there was also the sound of the two's heartbeat. Not knowing how long had passed, Zishan said lightly, "Husband, I'm sorry, I was wrong." Yihong felt that his ears were ringing. Zishan actually took the initiative to apologize? What is going on? This awesome wife of mine actually apologized to me? I feel like I am dreaming. Husband, can you forgive me? In the future, I won't force you to give birth to a child anymore. Let nature take its course. Zishan had also just thought it through. If Zishan continued to force Yihong, she might really end up divorcing him. Really? Yihong was very happy in his heart. Zishan has finally thought it through. Zishan answered while tightly snuggling into Yihong's embrace. These few years, I have been forcing Zishan too much, and I have not given Yihong any face at all. Husband, in the future, I won't scold you anymore. I will properly love you. Yihong was so moved that she was about to cry. Zishan is finally sensible. It really wasn't easy for Zishan to say such words just now. Just what kind of stimulation did Zishan suffer just now? Sometimes a husband and wife should express their love to each other. This would make the other party happy. Otherwise, if it was always one-sided, there would be problems in the long run. Love must be said. Yes. Hubby, will you still dote on me like before? Zishan said with a coquettish tone. This kind of Zishan caused Yihong to sigh in admiration. This kind of Zishan is simply like a ferocious tiger turning into a little kitten. Yihong hugged Zishan tightly. Yes, it will never change. Hubby, you're the best. Comfortable. Yihong felt so comfortable. Hubby, yeah, what's wrong? We haven't done that in a long time, Yihong exclaimed. She had just said that she wouldn't force herself. In the past, my goal was to have children, but from today onwards, that's no longer the case. This is my love, Yihong expressed as she didn't understand what Yihong was saying. Are you bullying me because I have not gone to school before? You're talking about such a big logic. However, if his wife had a request, would the husband refuse? Furthermore, today, even Zishan had lowered her head to him. Yi Juetian was very happy. Yi Juetian was very unhappy, and he felt very hesitant. I'm definitely letting Yi down, letting her suffer alone in the woodshed. As a man, I'm truly too much of a failure. Meanwhile, Gongyu, who was sleeping in the small room, was sleeping very soundly, because tomorrow will be the end of his troubles. End of this chapter. Chapter 1152. Inside the woodshed. Yi sat on the bed and looked at the clothes on the table. These clothes were sent over by Gongyu. When the time comes, I will be able to mix into the group of palace maids and serve food and wine. When that time comes, it will be my chance. I will not bear this crime. Even if I die, I will clear my name. Yi slowly laid down, took out a small mirror, and lightly stroked it. Right now, Ye won't use this to talk to me anymore. In his heart, does he just not trust me? Soon after, I took out that unfinished lollipop, took a look at it, and put it back. Tomorrow. Yay, I'm not a spy. Early morning, in the snowy northern Liang land, only Wushu Empire sky was filled with warm sunlight. On this day, the sunlight was bright and beautiful, and all of the residents had a festive atmosphere. Most of the people even wore red clothes and celebrated this moment together. This was the grandest banquet that Wushu Empire had ever held since the founding of the empire. Most of the powers in the north had even gathered here, allowing everyone to see the weight of Wushu Empire. After all, people would only come if they gave them face. This Wushu Empire is truly extraordinary. 3 absolute palaces, sure, you said softly. That's right. A few months ago, we were still standing outside the city, and almost died. The one who spoke was Broken Moon Valley Xiangliren. He was also one of the 3 survivors, and even now, he was still trembling with fear. Fan Jin stood at the side and sighed in his heart. If I wasn't smart that day, I probably wouldn't even be standing here. It is my honor to be invited here. Fan Jin said softly. Today will be one of the most unforgettable days of my life. The most unforgettable day would definitely be that day. It shocked me to the point that I was dispirited for a few days and had nightmares. The scene of me trembling while standing outside the city was still fresh in my memory. Supreme Fan Jin. A voice rang out behind Fan Jin. Fan Jin turned around and called out softly, "So it's Violent Wind Sect's Jiuming, long time no see." Violent Wind Sect was naturally a power from the ancient land, and they came here to join in the fun. This Jiuming had the appearance of a young man and seemed a bit flamboyant, which could be seen from his luxurious clothes. It was as if he was living in the countryside, making everyone worship him. But this Jiuming didn't have that kind of feeling. He didn't have that kind of feeling of being high and mighty. This Wushu Empire's people don't reveal any shock or fear when they look at me, as if they were looking at an ordinary person. He was too bold. Jiuyang looked at Xiangliren and Shiryu, who were at the side. He did not care about them at all. Small sects like these could be dealt with a wave of his hand. On the other hand, he could not afford to offend Fan Jin. Fan Jin was only afraid of Wushu Empire. As for this 9 sons, he wasn't afraid at all. After all, he was someone who had half a foot in the honorable realm. Supreme Fan Jin, I feel that this voidless empire is exaggerating. Jiuyang said calmly. It wouldn't be too much to address Fan Jin as a supreme. Fan Jin snorted coldly in his heart. He had the same feeling when he came here before. He had thought that this Wushu Empire was just a tiger on the outside. But who would have thought that their inner heart was even more terrifying than an evil dragon? In response to 9 Sons' mockery, Fan Jin said indifferently, "Oh, you will know when the time comes." Shiryu and Xiangliren didn't say anything. If they had spoken nicely, they might have warned him, but since he was acting like a boss, they would have made him suffer. At that time, you will know how precious life is. Supreme Fan Jin, 9 Sons sect leader. Right at this moment, another man walked over with a gentle smile on his face, appearing very approachable. This was the Twin Dragons Academy's headmaster, Baido. Sect leader Baido. Fan Jin called out softly. Shiryu and Xiangliren also called out. "Baido, how do you feel about this place?" Jiuyang laughed softly with a mocking tone. Baido swept his gaze across the surroundings and said with a smile, "This voidless empire is the most prosperous one I have ever seen. It is comparable to the Bright Mist communal country in the south. The Bright Mist communal country belongs to the deity institution. What does this voidless empire have?" Jiuyang snorted softly. Actually, his heart was filled with jealousy. This voidless empire was indeed prosperous and orderly. Compared to his own territory, his territory was like a bandit's nest. Baido didn't argue. Although it is a little prosperous, the guards and whatnot here are still lacking. Hearing Baido's words, the 3 of them laughed in their hearts. To actually say that this place lacks battle prowess. Back then, the 2 of you weren't there. If you were, you would know what battle prowess is. You would be so scared that you would pee your pants. Baido continued to speak. In this voidless empire, a mere prince is getting married, yet he actually called out so many people. It's truly a huge effort. If it wasn't for the fact that I had nothing better to do, I wouldn't have bothered to come over. Jiuyang snorted coldly. Fan Jin originally wanted to remind them, but he decided not to. If the 2 of you want to court death, no one would blame you. I heard that Yuan Yang Manor attacked Voidless Empire. Where did all these people go? This is truly strange. Jiuyang asked curiously. Baido opened his folding fan and said indifferently, "Who knows? Could it be that they were annihilated by this Voidless Empire?" Back then, there were only 3 people left alive. Lai Gu had originally wanted these 3 people to spread the news. In the end, these 3 people didn't even dare to mention it. Chapter 1153. The guests entered the hall one after another, and the first thing they saw were 2 rows of red-armored warriors. The flags of the Voidless Empire were raised in their hands, and they were crossed together, not moving at all, giving off a feeling of iron and blood. They sure are putting on a show. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that I had entered some big event, Jiu Yang said calmly, a look of disdain in his eyes. However, Fan Jin did not dare to say anything. All he wanted to do today was to witness a grand spectacle. Perhaps it would be helpful to his cultivation base. Bado didn't say anything. Actually, he couldn't be bothered to say anything. He felt that there was no need to. Since he had chosen to come here, there was no need to waste his breath. Nine Suns was here to seek excitement. On the long red carpet, there were 2 seats for the guests. There were names and numbers on them. You just had to follow the number on the invitation and take your seat. It was very convenient. Everyone gradually took their seats. At this time, the palace maids slowly walked in with wine. Amongst the palace maids, Yi was also amongst them, and she was currently holding onto a cup of wine. No one discovered Yi's existence, but Yi was determined to die today. Yo, there are so many beauties here. Nanyang looked at Yi, who was leaning forward slightly, and was about to reach out and touch her. Sensing his intentions, Yi quickly retracted her hand. Jiu Yang laughed dryly, with a peculiar look in his eyes. If he went to those empires, he could have any woman he wanted. Those emperors would respectfully send their women to his room. Even those women had looks of pleading on their faces. To be able to serve me, the 9 Suns, is the good fortune you women have accumulated in your previous lives. Fan Jin was seated at the side and naturally saw Jiu Yang's actions. He could not help but say, "Sect leader Jiu Yang, you have to pay attention to your image. There are quite a lot of people here." Indeed, there were quite a lot of them. If it wasn't the emperor, then it was the boss. There were hundreds of them. Jiu Yang squeezed out a smile and said, "Supreme Fan Jin is right." With that, he fell silent. At this time, a figure slowly walked out of the palace, wearing a festive red robe. This was the Blood Demon, the master of ceremonies today. Although the Blood Demon had lost all of his strength, his aura was still there. Under such a grand occasion, he did not have any stage fright at all. He seemed very at ease. "Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome everyone who has come to attend His Highness' wedding today. It is a joy to have friends coming from afar." Blood Demon's words were light and powerful, but his last words carried a deep threat. Everyone present was smart and understood this principle. Those who came with good intentions would get good food and good wine. If they came with bad intentions, then don't blame them. What awaited them was only deep despair. This kind of despair would make you wish you were dead. Fan Jin was very knowledgeable and immediately applauded. As soon as Fan Jin clapped, everyone else followed suit. It was a very lively scene. Everyone has come from afar. His Majesty has prepared some small programs for all of you to enjoy. Blood Devil waved his hand and then retreated. The people sitting below were very curious. The Emperor hadn't arrived yet, but the entertainment program had already begun. How strange. However, just as everyone was feeling puzzled, a strange aura came from the sky. Everyone looked up at the sky. A black cloud slowly floated over from afar. When Fan Jin saw the black cloud, his expression froze. This is Baido's eyes glazed over in disbelief. Black rainbow cloud. Why would this thing appear here? Even Jiu Yang was stupefied. Sure, you showed that she was new and asked curiously, "What is this black rainbow cloud?" Xiang Liren, who was at the side, said faintly, "Black rainbow cloud. It is actually not a cloud. It is a type of rare, prehistoric ferocious beast that looks like a cloud. According to legends, as long as one is enveloped by the black rainbow cloud, any living being will become a part of it. And the bigger the black rainbow cloud, the stronger it is. Even an overlord would be finished." Then look at the size of this black rainbow cloud. Sure, he was a bit stupefied. This black rainbow cloud is about to cover the entire sky. This is too terrifying. Right now, Jiu Yang was already so shocked that he couldn't speak. After all, the black rainbow cloud had only appeared in books and had never appeared before. I didn't expect to actually see it today. However, here came the problem. This black rainbow cloud appeared. What is it for? What is it here for? Could it be that it is here to devour me? Everyone seemed to have thought of this and started to become nervous. However, Blood Demon's voice sounded, "Everyone, don't panic. This is just an entertainment program." Entertainment program? Who the hell would use a black rainbow cloud to liven things up? Aren't they crazy? This is a black rainbow cloud, not some random cat or dog that can kill people with a single word of disagreement. As the black rainbow cloud gradually floated over, everyone felt a sense of pressure. Gradually, the black rainbow cloud stopped and covered the entire sky of Wushu Empire. The originally sunny weather immediately turned gloomy. This caused the joyous wedding to feel a bit heavy. Even the people in the city were puzzled. Why did the black rainbow cloud cover up the sunlight? This isn't right. Just as everyone was puzzled, a crack could be seen appearing on the black rainbow cloud. Rays of sunlight could be seen passing through the crack and shining onto the entire Wushu Empire. This was a visual touch. Those rays of sunlight seemed to symbolize hope, and when the sunlight shone onto the ground, everyone felt breathtaking. It was too beautiful, causing people to be unable to shift their eyes away from it. The people in the city were also stupefied by this beautiful scene. Is this what hope is? It's so magnificent. A multicolored rainbow light suddenly appeared and spanned across the entire Wushu Empire. That beautiful rainbow light seemed to have formed a bridge. Is this another bridge of hope? It's so beautiful. It's too beautiful. It's too breathtaking. Everyone had never seen such a spectacle before, and today, their horizons have truly been broadened. That black rainbow cloud up, there is not something that just anyone can invite, and right now, it is actually able to perform for you. This will definitely be recorded in the history books. A loud and clear roar rang out from afar. This roar brought along a strong pressure, and this pressure was comparable to that of the black rainbow cloud. Fan Jean suddenly stood up and said blankly, "This is the legendary red-feathered white tiger." "What? This is a red-feathered white tiger?" Zhou Yang cried out in surprise, and his gaze was filled with deep fear. "Sure," you asked curiously. "What is a red-feathered white tiger?" Fan Jean said gravely, "If there is something above a dragon, it would be a red-feathered white tiger." Above a dragon? Sure, you revealed a look of astonishment. There is something above a dragon. However, sure, you immediately saw it. Sure, you suddenly stood up. This is really a dragon, but that is a tiger's head and a dragon's body, and it even has a pair of pure white wings. When those wings were spread out, they were actually as wide as the black rainbow cloud. Just how huge are those wings? The red-feathered white tiger that was at the front let out a roar, and the entire heaven and earth trembled. End of this chapter. Chapter 1154. When the people of the entire Voidless Empire saw this scene, their brains were all shocked. This was too King terrifying, wasn't it? I have never seen such a huge creature before. Not only ordinary people, even Fan Jean had only seen it in a book, and it was only a few words about it. Zhu Yang swallowed his saliva, and his scalp went numb. Just what kind of empire is this? Just a black rainbow cloud is already enough to shock everyone. I didn't expect that red-winged white tigers would come again. An even more terrifying existence. And there are 3 of them. My God, right at this moment, the 3 red-winged white tigers suddenly turned into dots of starlight and attached themselves to the layer of clouds. This made everyone feel as if they were looking at the stars in the night sky. So beautiful. To ordinary people, this is beautiful, but to those with strength, this is not beautiful. This is completely a type of panic. To actually be able to cause the red-winged white tigers to disintegrate. How is this possible? The powerful and terrifying ancient godly beast actually did this. This is unimaginable. I am definitely dreaming. Zhu Yang muttered. Baido rubbed his eyes. seemingly unwilling to believe what was happening in front of him. An empire. To actually be able to bring out such a godly beast. This was something that could not possibly exist. Sure, Yu and Xiang Liren finally knew that what they saw that day was just the tip of the iceberg. Perhaps what they saw right now is just the tip of the iceberg. Fan Jin slowly sat down, his breathing a bit hurried. I didn't come here for nothing today. Although I only saw 2 rare beasts, it was a great help to my realm, and my horizons have been broadened by a lot. Yi, who was standing among the palace maids, was also incomparably shocked. Although she did not know what it was, the scene in front of her had already deeply attracted her. I feel that I am very small standing here, and I still have to explain myself face to face later on. Will these people listen to my explanation? I can't care so much anymore. Today is a rare opportunity. If I were to miss it, I would have to carry this infamy for my entire life. If I were to end it just like this, that would not be Yi Hua's style. Quickly look, what is that? Where? Above the rainbow light. Everyone stood up once again and looked at the end of the rainbow light. Some figures appeared, but these figures were not humans, and they were walking with 2 legs. As these things approached, everyone was puzzled. There were more than 100 people in the group, but they didn't look like humans, because their heads grew on their chests, and they only had 2 legs but no hands. It was very strange. The newbie Shiryu asked curiously again, "What species is this? I've never seen it before." Xiang Liren shook his head, indicating that he didn't understand either. Baido asked curiously, "Supreme Fan Jin, do you recognize these?" Fan Jin considered himself to be knowledgeable, but when he saw these things, he was still dumbfounded. Jiu Yang, on the other hand, revealed an extremely terrified expression. His entire body was trembling as if he had seen a ghost. Sect leader Nine Sons, do you recognize these species? Baido could tell from Nine Sons' expression that he recognized them. Tiny beads of sweat appeared on Jiu Yang's forehead as he said in a fearful tone, "I once heard my great master mention a legend." "What legend?" Fan Jin asked curiously. "A very, very long time ago, there was a group of strange races. They were invincible, and wherever they went, nothing grew. Their heads grew on their chests, and they didn't have hands, but they had 2 legs. They had a powerful and enviable talent, immortality." Xiang Liren asked curiously, "Does this immortality refer to life, or they couldn't be killed?" Jiu Yang added, Shiryu was curious. Since they couldn't be killed, why did this group of people disappear? "I don't know. In the past, I thought my great master said it was just for fun, but today I realized that it was true. These people were called Black Giants. Killing a supreme being was like killing an ant." Jiu Yang said blankly, suddenly feeling afraid. He had started to mock this place the moment he arrived at Wushu Empire. If those mocking words were known by others, wouldn't he be finished? Thinking of this, Jiu Yang broke out in cold sweat. He wasn't even a supreme being, and even if he was, he would be an existence that would tremble in fear just by sitting here. Over 100 black giants walked to the center of the rainbow and stopped, and something that made everyone confused happened. The black giants could be seen leaning backwards slightly, and multicolored things suddenly shot out from their mouths. Beep, 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 bang, bang, bang. These multicolored things were just like fireworks, and they blossomed beneath the clouds. It was so beautiful that it took one's breath away. These are really artificial fireworks, and they look just like bubbles. However, what everyone didn't know was that the things that the black giants spat out actually had very great destructive power. It was just that, for the sake of the show this time, the black giants' weapons were precisely their mouths. As long as they were to shoot at the same time, the defenseless Wushu Empire would be instantly destroyed. Brilliant fireworks blossomed beneath the black rainbow clouds. All of the girls were stupefied by this scene. If someone were to propose to them right now, they would definitely agree to it. This is too romantic. However, Fan Jin and the others finally knew. This was the effect of turning day into night. Let the black rainbow clouds come over and act as the night. Let the red-winged white tiger come over and act as the stars. Then, let the black giants that were terror-stricken come over and use their mouths to shoot fireworks. For these three formidable characters to gather together, just for this, just how much manpower and material resources were needed to accomplish this. These things were all found by Brett. As for how he found out about it, Yihua wouldn't ask about it. Yihua was only looking at the final result of the show. At the very least, up until now, he was rather satisfied. Brett was still very meticulous this time. E, who was in the group, looked at the magnificent fireworks and felt that it was so beautiful, so beautiful. I really want to engrave this moment deep into my mind. Furthermore, it would be great if Yi Yi was by my side. Such a beautiful scenery. If I were to lie in Yi Ye's embrace, how romantic would that be? I hope that I will have this chance in the future. But the prerequisite is that I have to be able to explain everything clearly today. The fireworks lasted for 10 minutes, and the black giants slowly left. As for where they went, no one knew, and no one dared to go and provoke them. Suddenly, a hollow yet sweet-sounding bell rang out, and it immediately made everyone feel relaxed and happy. Just by hearing the bell, one could tell that it was not an ordinary item. That is, Baido cried out in surprise when he saw the item that was walking over. Fan Jin's eyeballs were about to pop out. I am afraid that everyone knows about this thing, because it is written in the books. However, this thing is already extinct, and it can even be said that it no longer exists. However, this thing actually appeared today. The news sure you didn't ask anymore, because she knew about this thing. It is called Heavy Thunder. End of this chapter. Chapter 1155. This was a type of prehistoric divine beast that looked extremely similar to a stag. The only difference was the pair of horns. This was no longer a horn, but a type of medicine that could make people immortal. In order to achieve immortality, one had to become a supreme being. However, how many people were stuck at this stage and eventually died of old age? However, just a little powder from the pair of horns of Heavy Thunder could make people immortal. Although this fellow's attacks weren't that great, his horns were much more absorptive than the other three. After all, there was nothing more important than immortality. As long as he had enough time, it wasn't impossible for him to reach the supreme level. He was just afraid that he wouldn't be able to reach it even if he used up all the time. Fan Jin, for example. Although he was young, it was only an illusion created by magic. He wasn't really young. Everyone was staring at Heavy Thunder, wishing they could dig out its horn and eat it. That way, he would be able to obtain immortality and eternal youth. But everyone was guessing in their hearts. Just how much foundation did this Wushu Empire have? Was there anything even more terrifying? With these things, he could sweep across the entire Kangluo continent. At this moment, Ren Yao, who was standing far away, was also shocked when she saw these monsters. Just who is this his honor? With such great power, he was able to take out these rare treasures. The subordinates were already used to this kind of pretentiousness. It was just that they would change it every time. Today, it was also a visual enjoyment. It was not completely pretentiousness, but it also seemed to have a little bit of life philosophy. It seems like his honor has also comprehended a bit of the great Tao. Zhong Ting gradually walked to the center. The bell on his ear stopped ringing. Everyone looked at Zhong Ting. What was he going to do? However, the Heavy Thunder hummed softly as if it was singing. Everyone's scalp went numb. They actually invited Zhong Ting to sing. He had seen amazing people, but he had never seen someone this amazing. Invincible. He was truly invincible. It was a wedding song, but most people couldn't tell what it was. Gradually, a beam of light suddenly expanded, illuminating the entire main seat. 5 figures appeared at the top of the black cloud. Everyone couldn't help but rub their eyes. Who were these people? It seemed so sacred and inviolable. Heavy Thunder stopped speaking and looked at the noble head below the figure. Even the black giant was the same. Everyone felt that. Could this be the Emperor of Voidless Empire? At this moment, Fan Jin was clearly very excited. He was finally going to see the Emperor of Voidless Empire. He was finally going to see it. This would be the most precious moment of his life. Fan Jin was not the only one who thought this way. Everyone else felt the same way. They were all emperors, but to be able to do what he did was simply incomparable. The ones who appeared in the sky were, of course, Yi Hua and his 4 wives. Originally, Yi Hua wanted to come out in a more exciting way, but when he thought about how today was his little brother's wedding, he didn't want to steal his little brother's limelight. Thus, he decided to be a bit more low-key. If everyone knew that this was the result of keeping a low profile, then what would it be like to be high profile? Yi Hua brought along his 4 wives and slowly descended, and gradually, everyone was able to clearly see what was going on. All of them were stunned. This Wushu Empire's emperor is too good-looking, right? And the 4 women beside him, they were so beautiful that it was suffocating. Was she still a woman? How could she be so beautiful? Shiryu's current surprise was the most profound. It turned out that he was the one in the wheelchair. He was the emperor. Good heavens. And those women. Good heavens. It was them. Yuhua was very satisfied with everyone's gaze. The kind of shock and fear, I have finally achieved my goal. However, until now, no one had come out to cause trouble. This was a little strange. Could it be that he was thinking too much? Be envious of me. My strength is something that you all are unable to imagine. My women are not people that you all can afford to provoke. Such outstanding women can only be enjoyed by me. Yi looked at the Empress who was beside Big Brother Emperor with a bit of envy. The Empress and the others are so beautiful, so dignified, and so imposing. I am completely unable to compare with them. How can I be Ye's wife like this? Gong Yu's temperament is much stronger than mine. Maybe Gong Yu is Ye's best choice. Yihua lightly sighed. Yi is currently looking for an opportunity. Right now, the dishes have not been served yet, and there are many guards in front of me. I reckon that before I can even rush over, I would already be caught. I have to wait until the dishes are served. Your Majesty. Long live! Long live! Long live! Fan Jin was the first to shout out. Following Fan Jin's shout, everyone came back to their senses from their shock and shouted out, Your Majesty! Long live! Long live! Long live! When that voice landed in Yi Hua's ears, it sounded so beautiful. It was just like the chirping of a sparrow, extremely pleasant to listen to. This is the benefit that comes from being powerful. If I am not powerful, I will only be bullied by them. And if I am powerful, they can only lower their heads and shout out, Long live, towards me. Yi Hua waved his hand and shouted out indifferently, Rise. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. This emperor is indeed not ordinary. Especially Jiu Yang. Right now, he was already incomparably regretful. Just now, I even insulted the person who came. Seeing such a scene, a single sentence from the person who came would be enough to kill me. Everyone, are you satisfied with these little tricks? Yi Hua slowly sat down, while his 4 wives sat at his sides. Everyone didn't even dare to breathe loudly as they shouted out in unison, Your Majesty is formidable. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Humans, this habit of bootlicking is really hard to get rid of. It's good that you're satisfied. Everyone slightly lowered their heads and laughed dryly. How can I not be satisfied? I am about to pee in my pants. Yi Hua waved his hand. The black rainbow cloud in the sky could be seen slowly leaving, and the starlight fused into the appearance of the red-winged white tiger and slowly flew away. Everything returned to normal, and the sunlight shone upon the entire Wushu Empire. It felt warm and comfortable. Let me invite my mother over. Yi Hua stood up and personally shouted out. Lu Jing's figure could be seen slowly appearing. Yi Yuanqing was supporting Lu Jing by the side, and Daji was also standing at the side to serve Lu Jing. The 3 of them slowly walked out. Everyone hurriedly shouted out, Greetings, Empress Dowager. Lu Jing's makeup today made her look very imposing, revealing the might of an Empress Dowager as she sat beside Yi Hua. Those who came are guests. Everyone rise. Lu Jing shouted out lightly. Thank you, Empress Dowager. Everyone felt that Empress Dowager seemed to be very easy to talk to. However, At this moment, some of Yihua's subordinates were all on guard around the palace to prevent any sudden incidents from happening. Today, no accidents are allowed to happen. If not tomorrow, the entire north will go crazy. Yihua said with joy, "Today is my little brother's wedding. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone for coming. For those who came today, I have even prepared gifts. Don't forget to bring them back." End of this chapter. Chapter 1156. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone shouted out once again, not daring to be the slightest bit impudent. They were even thinking in their hearts, what kind of treasure did the emperor give them? It is definitely not a small thing. It is definitely a good thing. Yihua slowly sat down and signaled for everyone to continue. Blood Demon took a step forward and shouted, "The auspicious time has arrived. Let the wedding ceremony begin." Everyone was very curious. Just what kind of person is the emperor's younger brother? And of course, they were also very curious what the bride looked like. Roar! A terrifying dragon roar suddenly resounded throughout the ground, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. Perhaps it was because they had just seen the red-winged white tiger, but when they looked at the dragon again, it seemed like the quality of the dragon had dropped a bit. However, everyone discovered that they were wrong. They were extremely wrong, because this was a carriage being pulled by 9 dragons. 9 enormous dragons were pulling a wedding carriage, and the carriage was flying over from afar. Everyone in Wushu Empire saw it. Zhuyang and Baidu were already numb to it. Too many things had happened today, and even their eyesight had been broadened. Compared to this place, the place that I came from is simply a rubbish dump. 9 enormous dragons of different colors soared in the sky, and within the wedding carriage was naturally Yi Juetian and Gong Yu. Right now, Gong Yu's head was covered with a red veil, and her hands were tightly clasped together, appearing to be very nervous. However, within this nervousness, there was also excitement. Today, I finally got what I wanted. I married the man that I liked. Although the process was a bit bumpy, the ending was still considered good. There was only one last segment left. Today, E was definitely going to die. It was not a good sign for someone to die in my own wedding ceremony. But in order to get rid of this scourge, I can only do this. Let Yi Juetian completely give up on this idea. Yi Juetian, who was sitting at the side, felt very uncomfortable. I wonder how Yi is right now. She should be feeling very bad, right? In the future, I will definitely help you clear your name. I believe that you are not a spy. Yi also saw dragons. These were creatures that ordinary people would never be able to see in their entire lives. Meanwhile, Yi and Gong Yu were sitting in the carriage at the back, being pulled by 9 divine dragons. What a great honor. If I am sitting in the carriage, how blissful would that be? However, these are all just my own wishful thinking. The 9 enormous dragons slowly landed on the red carpet, and the wedding carriage's door just so happened to be facing the red carpet. At this time, the groomsmen and bridesmaids appeared. The bridesmaids were Sun Fong and Tang Wei. Tang Wei felt that since Uncle Wei was not around, she should also do something. Zhu Tian personally opened the door, and Yi Juetian's figure appeared. However, when Yi Juetian appeared, everyone's eyes were filled with surprise. This person looks exactly the same as the emperor, as expected of my biological brother. As Gong Yu was wearing a red veil, everyone couldn't see her appearance clearly. However, from that arrogant body shape, it could be seen that she should be a beauty. In any case, it definitely won't be an ugly girl. Welcome the bride and groom. Play the music. Blood Devil shouted in a joyous tone, looking at her youngest son getting married. Lu Jing's face was filled with satisfaction. Yihua was the same as well. He had finally managed to hold his younger brother's wedding. Dong, 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 dong. A sweet-sounding voice resounded throughout the entire voidless empire as everyone offered their blessings. The 2 newcomers walked toward the main seat and prepared to greet. When he walked up the steps, the female officer below waved, indicating that the wine could be served. Just now, the drinks are almost finished. I will definitely have to propose a toast later on. Right now, Yi was holding onto the wine pot, and her breathing was a bit hurried, very nervous, very hesitant. However, when he saw Ye walking up the stairs, his rapid breathing gradually calmed down. Today, I must definitely explain everything clearly and say it in front of everyone. The palace maid slowly entered the venue and added more wine to the table. Jiuyang looked at Yi, who was in front of him once again. Yi is very beautiful, but right now, he doesn't dare to tease her at all. His sitting posture is just like a child. He was afraid that his teacher would see him. Right now, Qian Yuqing's gaze was filled with astonishment. Because she had been worried about Yi, she specially observed Yi. Jiuyang's position was closer to the front. Thus, Qian Yuqing saw Yi with a single glance. Qian Yuqing was startled by Yi's action. What are you doing? Don't mess around. If you mess around today, even the Heavenly King won't be able to save you. Yi, please don't do anything stupid. There will still be chances in the future. However, to Yi, today is a chance. If she misses today, there won't be any more chances in the future. Qinya saw that Qian Yuqing's expression was a bit bad, so she followed Qian Yuqing's gaze and looked over. Upon discovering Yi, Qinya was startled. Why is she here? This, Qinya hurriedly pulled Dongwang Baiji, who was beside her, and hinted. Dongwang Baiji similarly discovered Yi, and her expression sunk. For Yi to appear here today, could it be because of something else? It is definitely because of Yi Juetian's wedding. Could it be that Yi is here to stop the wedding? My God! This foolish woman is being muddle-headed again. If you do this, you will have wasted little Tion's painstaking efforts. Why are you so immature? However, to Yi, this is not doing a foolish thing. This is doing the right thing. Different positions, different ways of thinking would naturally be different. Perhaps, if Qinya and the others were to look at the problem from Yi's point of view, they wouldn't feel that what Yi is doing is foolish, but rather, what Yi is doing is a type of courage. She dares to face the tyrant Yi Hua. Gong Yu, who was walking on the stairs, was very nervous. If Yi were to give up today, my future days will definitely not be easy. However, I have already walked till now. Why haven't I heard Yi's voice yet? Foolish woman, hurry up and shout, defend yourself. Yi Juetian still didn't know that Yi was standing not far away from him, and on his face, a blissful smile appeared. Yi had already changed the wine pot, and seemed to be preparing to return with the palace maids. However, when all of the palace maids returned, Yi was still standing in front of Jiuyang without moving. Jiuyang was a bit stupefied right now. Big sister, don't mess around. This is not a joke. If you are joking, I will die. Big sister, I beg you, quickly leave. I will apologize for my actions just now, okay? Please don't report me. I am in the wrong. Fan Jin also discovered that this palace maid is very strange. Her expression is one of struggle. Could it be that she is preparing to report Jiu Yang's actions just now? Baido also discovered that and sat at the side, not uttering a word. I mustn't invite trouble onto myself. Sure, you and Xiang Liren sneered in their hearts. Now you know fear, right? Why didn't you think when you were preparing to bully others just now? Yi's expression really frightened Jiuyang badly. Right now, the famous Jiuyang had the urge to pee in his pants. If this palace maid were to report me, I am finished. I am dead for sure. I will definitely have to feed it to the dragons. Big sister, I will kneel down for you, okay? Don't mess around. Jiuyang said in a low voice. His lips were trembling, and his heart was about to jump out. However, Yi's face was expressionless as she slowly walked to the center position and looked at the tall stairs, as well as those people on top of the stairs. End of this chapter. Chapter 1157. Right now, Jiuyang's mind was a bit dizzy. What are you doing? Just how big a matter is this? I didn't even touch your hand, and you want to complain about me? Other people always say that women are stingy. I didn't believe in the past, but today I have finally seen it for myself. If you complain about me in this kind of situation, you will also die, and you still want to drag me to die with you? Are you crazy? With a thud, Yi directly knelt on the ground. Along with Yi kneeling down, Zhu fainted, thinking to himself that I am going to die today. It's just a small matter. Do you really have to kill me? This was too careless. However, everyone looked at Yi's actions in confusion. What was this palace maid doing? Why did he suddenly kneel down? The other palace maids were also shocked. What was going on? The female official fainted from fright. She had instructed her not to make any mistakes today, but it still happened. When Qian Yuqing saw Yi kneeling down, her expression immediately became heavy. It's over. It's really over. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were the same. Yihua placed a lot of importance on today's event, and yet, Yi, you actually chose to create trouble today. Even we don't dare to plead for you. Qing Yutong didn't see it before, but now that she saw it, she was also shocked by Yi's actions. Brother-in-law had been preparing for this day for the past few days, and I even felt that someone would come and make trouble for me today. All right, now that everything is all right, you really came to create trouble. My God, why are you so stupid? When Lu Jing saw Yi kneeling on the ground, the smile on her face gradually disappeared. Her gaze turned solemn. However, Yihua's line of sight was blocked by the two newbies. Thus, he was unable to see what was going on. However, he was able to hear the sounds of discussions. Right at this moment, Gong Yu also heard the subtle sounds of discussion that came from behind her, and she became happy in her heart. Could it be that Yi has made a move? Yi Juetian, who was beside him, also heard it, and he turned his head around to look at it with a puzzled expression. He immediately saw the palace maid kneeling in the middle. Yi Juetian's gaze gradually became astonished, and even became lifeless. Yi was actually kneeling here. Yi Juetian felt as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue. Last night, I did think that Yi would come back, but that was all just my imagination running wild. Never in a million years would he have thought that the thing he feared the most would appear just like that. Yi really came. Gong Yu felt that Yi Juetian, who was beside her, had stopped. Then, without thinking too much, it was definitely Yi. This foolish woman still hasn't given up. Gong Yu, can't help but admire your courage. Making Big Brother Emperor look bad in front of so many people. If it was me, I definitely wouldn't have the guts. Yihua felt that the atmosphere wasn't right. Thus, he shifted his gaze slightly and immediately saw Yi, who was kneeling on the ground. His originally joyous face suddenly became incomparably gloomy. I have thought of all kinds of troublemaking scenarios. He had only forgotten about Yi. Never would I have expected this. She was the one who dared to cause trouble, choosing such a special day to make me look bad. He was really scheming. Yi Juetian came back to his senses and immediately shouted, "Men, drag her out." This was also the only way to save Yi. Silly woman, you can't act recklessly today, you will die. A few guards immediately walked towards Yi. However, Yihua shouted out gravely, "Wait." When Yi Juetian heard what his big brother said, he immediately felt that something was amiss. It wasn't only Yi Juetian who felt that way. Qinya and the others felt that way too. "It's over," Yi angered Yihua. When Gong Yu heard her big brother telling her to wait, she felt great in her heart. "Yi, if you don't die today, Zhu Tian will be yours." Gong Yu, will definitely do what I say." The people below were already discussing it. Those who were seated here were all big shots. They felt that this matter wasn't that simple. To dare to cause trouble at such an important moment, this palace maid's guts wasn't just ordinary. Could it be that this palace maid has gone mad? "Sure," you said in a low voice. Xiang Liren nodded his head. "That's right. We still have to listen to what this palace maid has to say. If it's something bad, I'm afraid," Fan Jin said gravely. "Seems like today isn't that simple." Jiuyang had already fainted from fright. His face was pale and devoid of any color. If it was a normal situation, this kind of matter would definitely be dealt with at a later time and brought Yi away first. However, was Yihua that kind of person? The other party had already provoked him to his face. If I were to send someone to bring Yi away, tomorrow, news of my Wushu Empire doing something shameful would spread out. The The losses outweighed the gains. At this moment, Lu Jing said in a low voice, Yihua, let's deal with this matter at a later time. Yi Juetian must have definitely pleaded for his mother, and he hurriedly said, Big brother, if we deal with this matter at a later time, I'm afraid that Wushu Empire's reputation will be affected. Qingya said in a low voice, Yihua, the overall situation is more important. However, not only did Yihua's anger not quelled, he instead became angrier and angrier. I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to see her today. What is she doing? To actually choose to slap my face in public. Such guts. After so many years, you are the first ordinary person who dares to do such a thing. And it's even a woman. I am innocent, Yi said in a low voice. Following Yi's words, the sounds of discussion became even louder. What does this palace maid mean? Why is she saying that she is innocent? Just what is such a powerful empire hiding? Is this a loss of morals? Or is this a kidnapping by the empire? Right now, everyone's gossipy heart was burning and boiling. They wished that they could immediately know the ins and outs of the matter. When Yi Juetian heard Yi's words, his mind became a bit stupefied. What does he mean by this? Could it be that she is still trying to explain for my mother? After all, no one told Yi about the matter of the spy. I'm not a spy, Yi explained in a low voice once again. However, this tone of hers made her seem so weak and helpless. However, the word spy caused a huge uproar. A spy actually appeared in such a powerful and prosperous Wushu empire. As expected, even powerful empires would have spies appearing. Furthermore, this spy even explained in front of everyone just what exactly is going on. Yihua's expression sunk. How did she know? Who told her about it? Yihua himself wasn't sure either. In actuality, in Yihua's heart, it wasn't important who told him about it. You made me lose a lot of face today. You actually want to explain? Then, I shall fulfill your wish. You said that you're not a spy. Do you have any evidence? Yihua asked coldly. If you are unable to give me a reason today, I will personally kill you. Yi, who was kneeling on the ground, slowly raised her head. Your Majesty, please believe me. I am not a spy. I will not harm everyone. I am not that kind of person. Seems like you don't have any evidence. However, I do. Yihua immediately waved his hand, and a conversation between Yihua and Huang Feidi instantly appeared. End of this chapter. Chapter 1158. Everyone was watching, and everyone was listening. When Yi heard and saw it, she was in disbelief. She didn't even know that man. Why did this man want to frame her? Your Majesty, I am being wrongly accused. I don't even know this man at all. Yi finally knew why Ye would ignore me, because all of them had misunderstood me. However, everyone didn't expect that this woman was actually sent by someone else to harm the Empress Dowager. My God, to actually be able to live until now after plotting against the Empress Dowager. Furthermore, looking at the Emperor's attitude, it seems like he already knew about it, but he didn't kill him. The various emperors couldn't help but think that if it were them, they would have already killed him. Yihua said coldly, You keep on saying that you are innocent, but where is the evidence? Isn't everything you're doing destroying this emperor's family? Yi Juetian, don't you think so? Right now, Yihua was extremely furious. I, the Supreme Overlord, had already let her off and didn't directly kill her. Today is such a big day, and yet she actually appeared and said such a thing. Regardless of whether you were framed or not, you wasted all the medicine. This is an iron-like fact. My mother doesn't have much time left. If it wasn't for me giving my little brother face, I would have already killed you over 100 times. Do you still think you can live until now? Yi Juetian didn't know how to answer this question. He only thought about how to protect Yi's life. How? How was he supposed to protect himself? Yi Yuanqing really wanted to say a few words, but looking at his big brother's gloomy face, if he said it now, it would be even worse. Yi Yuanqing wasn't the only one who was thinking this way. Qingya and the others didn't dare to anger Yihua right now, as doing so would only hasten Yi's death. Gongyu, on the other hand, was very happy. Big Brother Emperor was already enraged. Today, Yi would definitely die. Lu Jing sighed helplessly. You silly child, why did you have to choose today? Aren't you just courting death? Everyone looked at Yi Juetian, and they seemed to have thought of something. It can't be that the Emperor's blood brother likes this girl, right? Otherwise, how could this woman still be alive? Yi raised her head and looked at Yi Juetian. So, other people can choose not to believe in themselves. But Yi, you should believe in yourself. Really? Yi Juetian felt that if I were to choose to believe Yi, wouldn't I end up angering Big Brother even more? If he really did that, he would definitely lose his big brother's face in front of everyone. At that time, it would be even more difficult to clean up the mess, and his big brother would be even more furious. However, if I don't believe in Yi, it will definitely feel very uncomfortable. Yi Juetian glanced at his elder brother with a pleading look in his eyes. Could he not kill Yi? Yi wouldn't even take a look at it. Yi Juetian knitted his brows tightly. He turned around and shouted, Since you don't have any evidence, then don't bother explaining anymore. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Yi Hua felt slightly better. I didn't lose face for Big Brother in front of so many people. At least you're sensible. Yi Juetian thought to himself, I'm giving my big brother face, so my big brother should also give me face. However, when Yi heard Yi Juetian's words, her face instantly became pale and powerless. Why does everyone not believe in me? Even you are the same as them. Yi couldn't help but think back to the scene where she met Yi Juetian for the first time. I believed in you and I followed you. But in the end, why can't I believe in you? Why would I harm others? Why don't you believe in me? Yi looked at Yi Juetian and asked. Without a doubt, this was telling everyone that she had a relationship with this prince. Everyone discussed in a low voice. Royal family gossip. Even such an awesome royal family would have this kind of gossip. The plot of prince falling in love with a palace maid, but in the end, marrying someone else. This is really too melodramatic. Tomorrow, the entire North will most probably spread about how powerful Wushu Empire is, and how there is a secret that no one knows about. Yi Juetian really hoped that Yi would stop asking about this. I am clearly saying this for Big Brother to hear. However, how would the sad Yi understand all these? Yi will believe whatever you say to her. Yi Juetian looked at the discussions that everyone was having and thought to himself, I'm done for. Big Brother is a respectable person. Enough. You don't have to say any more. I will not believe in the words that you say. Yi Juetian endured the pain in his heart and shouted out. Looking at how much pain Yi was in, I really want to take her place and bear this sin. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Yi's face became ashen. The discussions that were happening beside Yi's ears entered Yi's ears. This woman still wants to enter the royal family. She is truly shameless. That's right, to intentionally choose such a day to lay all her cards on the table. She is truly a scheming woman. If I was the emperor, I would have killed this kind of woman long ago. If you have the ability, then you are the emperor, all right? All sorts of malicious words caused Yi's head to feel a bit dizzy. Yi slowly raised her head and looked towards the blue sky. The sky above Wushu Empire was very beautiful, and when the gentle sunlight shone onto Yi's body, it felt very warm. However, Yi was not able to feel this warmth. On the contrary, it was bone-piercingly cold, so cold that it seemed as if it could even freeze one's heart. Yi Hua, today is little Tion's big day. Let's not cause any deaths. Lu Jing said lightly at the side. It would be inauspicious if someone were to die during a wedding. Yi Hua felt that what his mother said was reasonable. Originally, he just wanted to wash away his bad luck and sweep away his bad luck. Today is my little brother's big day. I do not wish to see blood. I will deal with this matter later. Yi Hua shouted out coldly. Towards his little brother, he was already being extremely benevolent. If it was in the past, his little brother would definitely not be alive. Yi Juetian let out a heavy sigh. Luckily, Big Brother gave me face. If not, Yi would definitely be dead. Gong Yu's expression was very bad. Big Brother Emperor actually spared Yi. How is this possible? For her to say such words in front of all of the guests, isn't this the same as throwing away Big Brother Emperor's face? Fortunately, the red veil covered her face, or else Gong Yu's twisted face would have been exposed. Qian Yuqing and the others let out a sigh of relief. Yihua's decision was a wise one. He did not cause any deaths during the wedding. That would be inauspicious. No, I'm not a spy. Yi Juetian, I'm not a spy. Yi, who was originally silent, suddenly erupted. Her pair of red eyes looked at Yi Juetian, who was on the stairs. How miserable and sorrowful is that? How much suffering did I have to suffer? I believed in you, yet you don't believe in me. Yi Juetian was stupefied by Yi, because Yi had never acted like this before. That heart-wrenching and lung-splitting voice was transmitted into Yi Hua's mind, shattering his heart. Yi Hua had originally wanted to let her off today, but I didn't expect that she would become even worse. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? Qian Yuqing seemed to be able to understand Yi's feelings. Back then, Yi Hua was also incomparably cold towards me, and at that time, I even had the heart to die. Luckily, this scoundrel Yi Hua was lying to me, and I almost scared my soul off. End of this chapter. Chapter 1159. However, the situation right now was different. Huang Feidy had died, and right now, there was no one to testify against him. How was it possible for Yi to wash away the injustice? However, right at this moment, Qian Yuqing's eyes lit up, and she suddenly thought of a good idea. Soul Gem. The spirit gem was still in his hands. This should be the only thing that could prove Yi's innocence. Justice for Yi. Perhaps it was because they were in the same boat. Qian Yuqing said, Yihua, I have something that can prove whether Yi is a spy or not. Yihua looked towards Qian Yuqing. His meaning was very clear. Do you want to get involved in this matter as well? Yihua, this is the spirit gem from back then. That Huang Yin won't be able to withstand this. Let you give it a try. If she is a spy, then just kill her. If she isn't a spy, then husband, please deal with her leniently. Qian Yuqing said in a low voice. She did not let anyone else hear her, but Yi Juetian and Gong Yu, who were closer to her, heard her. Yi Juetian was very excited because he believed that Yi was not a spy. But Gong Yu was not happy. He knew that Yi wasn't a spy. But if Yi's name was cleared, this was not good for him. Should I say something now? Otherwise, I won't have the chance anymore. Gong Yu didn't dare to say it. If she stopped him now, she would become a suspect. Yihua looked at the spirit gem and slightly wrinkled his brows. His expression was very tense. Yihua, why don't you give it a try? At least there will be a result. Lu Jing spoke, and all of the daughters-in-law let out a breath of relief. Yihua said gravely, All right, Yi, this emperor will give you another chance. Hearing his big brother's words, Yi Juetian was very happy. Yi could finally clear her name. However, Yi, who was kneeling on the ground, didn't have any feelings at all, because Yi Juetian didn't believe in her. Right now, there was already no meaning in trying to explain anything to him. A man who didn't believe in me, and I even foolishly gave up everything for him. He was so stupid. Qian Yuqing took the heart gem and walked towards Yi. Everyone was able to admire the beauty of the Empress up close. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating. Qian Yuqing was the most beautiful woman in the god's realm, and that was not just for show. Actually, Yi wasn't bad either. It was just that her aura wasn't there yet. Yi, take this. It can prove your innocence. Qian Yuqing helped Yi up and encouraged her. Everyone looked at the spirit gem in Qian Yuqing's hand and felt quite confused. They did not know what this spirit gem was used for. However, this mind gem was a lie detector. Yi looked at the bead in Qian Yuqing's hand. A small bead could make her innocent, but could it build trust again? Yi Juetian, I will never trust you again. I will never trust you again in this lifetime. If I could, I would rather be spurned by everyone on the street than kneel here and be distrusted by you. Yi, Qian Yuqing called out softly. Qian Yuqing realized that Yi had changed a little at this moment. She seemed to have become a stranger. Yi took over the spirit gem and held it in her hand. Yi couldn't feel any emotions anymore. In this world, there's already nothing left for me to remember. The only person I've left has also passed away. Qian Yuqing took a deep breath and shouted at the crowd. Everyone, this is the soul gem. It can detect lies. If you're not lying, the spirit gem will shine brightly, otherwise it will dim. After that, Qian Yuqing looked at Yi and asked in a deep voice, Yi, are you a spy? Everyone held their breath at this moment. Not knowing why, the life and death of this palace maid affected everyone's emotions. Even Fan Jin was the same. Looking at this infatuated woman, even Fan Jin felt that she was wronged. Qian Yuqing looked at Yi closely and waited for the result. Meanwhile, Yi, who was holding onto the soul gem, slightly raised her head and looked towards Yi Juetian. Yi could feel that Yi Juetian wanted to hear the result. He doesn't believe me. I'm just a joke, Yi shouted out loudly. I'm a spy. Following that, everyone became puzzled. They didn't know what was going on. Wasn't Yi trying to clarify just now? Why did she admit to it now? In actuality, Yi was mocking those people who didn't believe in her. Yi Hua could feel Yi's mockery, and his expression became incomparably gloomy. I was actually mocked by a woman. However, after a short while, the soul gem in Yi's hand didn't emit any light at all. On the contrary, it became dim. The entire crowd went into an uproar. This palace maid just said a lie. She isn't a spy. Qian Yuqing revealed out a smile. I knew that Yi isn't a spy. Yi Juetian was also very happy. How could he be a spy? She really scared him badly. Qinya and the others also let out a sigh of relief. It's good that he isn't a spy. Everything is just a misunderstanding. However, right now, Yi Hua's mood became even worse. Yi is actually not a spy. That damned Huang Fei lied to me, and I actually foolishly believed it. That damned Huang Fei. I shouldn't have let White Bones kill him so easily. I should have ruthlessly tortured him. You actually lied to me. In actuality, it was very normal for Yi Hua to be deceived. His mother's life was on the verge of death, and Yi Hua was completely unable to maintain a calm mind. Furthermore, Yi was indeed a suspect, and all of these were very reasonable. However, only these women, with their sixth sense, felt that Yi was not a spy, so sometimes what they saw and heard might not be true. Only at this moment did Yi Hua realize that not only was his face slapped by a dead person, his face was also slapped by Yi, who was below him. He. Yi Hua revealed a self-mocking smile on his face. How many years has it been? I, the Supreme Overlord, was actually played by someone. My intelligence was fiercely rubbed on the ground. In actuality, Lu Jing had always felt that Yi wasn't a spy, just that Yi was rather stupid. Right now, seeing that Yi was able to prove herself, Lu Jing felt at ease. Gong Yu's mood was very bad right now. I didn't expect that sister-in-law would have such a method to save Yi, this foolish woman. I will think of a way in the future. Let's settle this marriage first. At the very least, I will have a status, while you don't have a status. When everyone saw that Yi was able to prove her innocence, a smile appeared on their faces. It wasn't easy for this little palace maid. It wasn't known who started clapping, but everyone started clapping and cheering for Yi. As an ordinary palace maid, for Yi to be able to face such a powerful empire, even Fan Jin would feel ashamed of his own inferiority. Qian Yuqing stretched out her hand and wiped away the tears that were at the corner of Yi's eyes, then said tenderly, All right, everything is fine now. Yi returned the spirit gem that was in her hand to Qian Yuqing, then said lightly, Empress, thank you. It's good that you are fine now. Go back and have a good rest later. And I indeed need to have a good rest. Yi said lightly, but Qian Yuqing didn't understand the meaning behind Yi's words. End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.